Welcome, dear listener, to our soothing journey through the mysterious depths of the ocean. I'm so glad you found this quiet corner of the internet where we can explore the wonders of the underwater world together. Before we begin our voyage beneath the waves, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to receive notifications about new relaxing adventures that await you in the future. Your subscription helps our community of dreamers grow, and I'm truly grateful for each and every one of you. Make yourself comfortable now, wherever you are. Perhaps in your bed, wrapped in soft blankets. Or maybe in your favorite armchair, where your body can fully relax. Allow yourself to settle in, just as if you were gently floating on ocean waves. There's no need to adjust your position anymore. Your body knows exactly how to find its perfect balance. Take a deep breath now, following the rhythm of the ocean waves. Inhale slowly through your nose, filling your lungs completely. And exhale even more slowly through your mouth, releasing any tension you might be holding. Let's practice the ocean wave breathing technique together. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a moment. And breathe out for a count of 6. Notice how this resembles the gentle movement of waves approaching the shore and then receding back into the ocean. With each breath, imagine yourself on a secluded beach at twilight. The air is perfectly warm against your skin. Not too hot, not too cool. Just right. The sand beneath you has retained the day's warmth, cradling your body in comfort. Above you, the first stars are beginning to appear in a sky painted with soft purples and deep blues. This is your time, your space, your moment of perfect tranquility. As you continue breathing, allow your thoughts to slow down. Just like the gentle lapping of waves on the shore. There's no rush here. No deadlines. No demands. Only the eternal rhythm of the ocean calling you to deeper relaxation. Feel the weight of your body sinking slightly into the surface beneath you. Every muscle gradually releasing its tension. Every part of you becoming heavier and more peaceful. Imagine that with each exhalation, you're releasing not just air, but also any worries or concerns from your day. They simply dissolve into the vastness of the imaginary ocean before you. Carried away on the tide, growing smaller and smaller until they disappear beyond the horizon. Listen now as the soundtrack of the ocean begins to emerge in your mind. The rhythmic sound of waves approaching the shore. Swoosh. And then gently retreating. A constant, dependable rhythm that has remained unchanged for millions of years. This is perhaps the oldest lullaby on our planet. The very first sound that life itself might have heard. The waves create their own music as they meet the shore. Sometimes they crash with a triumphant splash against rocky outcroppings. Sometimes they whisper as they spread themselves across smooth sand. Each wave unique, yet part of an eternal pattern that continues whether we're listening or not. In the distance, you might hear the occasional cry of seagulls. Their calls carried on the gentle breeze. These sounds don't disturb your relaxation, they're simply part of the rich tapestry of coastal life. Perhaps there's also the subtle rustling of beach grasses swaying in the wind, or the faint tinkling of shells being tumbled by the retreating tide. But what would it be like to hear the ocean not from above, but from within? Beneath the surface, the acoustic world transforms completely. If you were to slip beneath the waves, the first thing you'd notice is a kind of hushed quality. A muffled sanctity, as if you've entered a natural cathedral. Then, gradually, the subtle sounds of underwater life would emerge. The gentle crackling of tiny shrimp and barnacles. The distant calls of whales that can travel for hundreds of miles through the water. The soft swish of fish gliding past. Water is an exceptional conductor of sound, carrying acoustic vibrations about 4 times faster than air. This means the underwater world is alive with communication we can scarcely imagine. Dolphins exchange complex information through clicks and whistles that bounce through the water like living light. Whales sing songs so intricate and evolving that scientists compare them to symphony movements. Even the smallest creatures contribute to this underwater orchestra with their movements and life processes. And below it all, if you listen closely enough, you might detect the deep, almost imperceptible rumble of the ocean itself. The sound of underwater currents flowing, of tides being pulled by the moon, of the very planet breathing through its watery lungs. These are the sounds that have accompanied life since it first emerged from the primordial seas. Constant, soothing, eternal. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine that your hearing becomes more sensitive, able to detect even the gentlest sounds of water molecules moving against each other. The soft percussion of sand particles settling on the ocean floor. The whispered secrets that sea creatures share in their mysterious languages. These sounds form a natural white noise, a perfect acoustic backdrop for our journey into deep relaxation. The ocean that we're imagining together is far more than just a vast body of water. It is the cradle of all life on our planet, the original home from which all terrestrial existence eventually emerged. When we feel drawn to the sea, perhaps we're simply acknowledging this ancient connection, remembering, on some cellular level, that the salt water in our tears and blood echoes the composition of the primordial oceans. This magnificent ecosystem covers more than 70% of our planet, yet we've explored less than 5% of its depths. The ocean remains more mysterious to us than the surface of the moon. It holds ancient secrets in its abyssal plains, houses creatures that seem to defy our understanding of biology, and maintains a delicate balance that helps regulate our entire planet's climate and atmosphere. If we were to view Earth from space, we would see primarily blue, the color of our oceans. This vast, interconnected body of water could be seen as a type of collective consciousness for our planet. A flowing, shifting entity that connects disparate landmasses and carries elements from one shore to another. The currents of our oceans move like thoughts through this consciousness, carrying warmth from the equator to the poles, nutrients from deep waters to the surface, and life forms from one habitat to another. Water itself is a remarkable substance with unique properties that make life possible. It can exist as solid, liquid, and gas within the relatively narrow temperature range found on Earth. It can dissolve more substances than any other natural solvent, earning it the nickname the universal solvent. It has exceptional capacity to store heat, which helps moderate our climate. And perhaps most relevantly for our journey tonight, water has profound associations with relaxation, renewal, and healing across virtually all human cultures. From ancient Roman baths to Japanese onsen, from baptismal rituals to the simple comfort of a warm shower after a long day, humans have intuitively recognized water's capacity to cleanse not just our bodies but our spirits. The sound of falling rain often helps people sleep. The sight of a still lake can calm a troubled mind. The gentle pressure of floating in water can release physical tension. There seems to be something deeply therapeutic about water that operates on multiple levels of our being. As we prepare to dive deeper into our ocean meditation, remember that water is also a powerful symbol of adaptability and persistence. Water doesn't fight against obstacles, it flows around them. It can be soft enough to cleanse a baby's skin and powerful enough to carve canyons through solid rock over time. Water teaches us patience, flexibility, and the quiet strength that comes from moving with, rather than against, the natural flow of life. I'd like to invite you now to transform from a mere observer on the shore to an explorer of the underwater realm. Imagine that your body becomes lighter, more buoyant. that you can slip beneath the surface of the water without any need for special equipment, that you can breathe underwater as easily as you breathe air. This is the beauty of guided imagination. The normal constraints of physical reality need not apply. As you begin to submerge, feel the temperature of the water around you. Cool but not cold. Embracing your body like a gentle hug. The water supports you completely, relieving your joints and muscles of the constant work of resisting gravity. Many people report feeling nearly weightless in water as one of the most relaxing physical sensations possible. Allow yourself to enjoy that sensation now. The light changes as you descend. The bright blues of the surface gradually shifting to deeper blues and eventually soft greens. Sunlight filters through the water above you in undulating patterns, creating dancing beams that shift and sway with the movement of the waves. This natural light show has a hypnotic quality, inviting you to relax even more deeply. As we prepare to meet the wise inhabitants of the ocean depths, let's practice what we might call oceanic breathing. This is similar to our wave breathing from earlier, but even slower and deeper. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 6. Hold gently for a count of 2. And exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. This extended exhalation mimics the way our body naturally relaxes in water. With each breath cycle, imagine descending a little further into the ocean's embrace. There's no rush. No destination that must be reached by a certain time. Only the journey itself, unfolding at its own perfect pace. The deeper you go, the more the outside world fades away. The sounds of your daily life replaced by the serene symphony of the underwater world. Soon we'll encounter the first of many fascinating creatures who call the ocean home. These beings have evolved over millions of years to perfect their existence in this liquid environment. They have much to teach us about adaptation, about finding peace in constant motion, about thriving in the present moment. Before we meet them, I want to remind you that this journey is yours to experience in whatever way feels most comforting to you. If at any point you prefer to return to the imaginary shore and simply listen to the descriptions, you can do so. If you'd rather float on the surface rather than dive deep, that's perfectly fine. Your comfort and relaxation are the primary purpose of this experience. Don't forget that if you're enjoying this ocean journey, taking a moment to subscribe to this channel would be deeply appreciated. It helps these calming stories reach others who might benefit from a moment of tranquility in their busy lives. Now, with that gentle reminder shared, let's continue our descent into the magnificent underwater world that awaits us. As we conclude this introduction to our oceanic journey, feel your body completely at ease, your mind clear and receptive, your breath steady and deep. We're about to encounter the first of many fascinating ocean dwellers, the playful and intelligent dolphins who dance along the boundary between the surface world and the depths. These remarkable beings will be our first guides as we explore the wisdom and wonder of the ocean together. If you're still awake and listening, I invite you to leave the word depths in the comments below, so I'll know you've joined me this far on our underwater adventure. In our next section, we'll discover the remarkable social intelligence of dolphins and learn what their playful existence might teach us about finding joy and connection in our own lives. Welcome back to our oceanic journey, where we continue to float gently through the magnificent underwater world. If you're just joining us, we've been exploring the soothing depths of the ocean, allowing its ancient wisdom to guide us toward deep relaxation. If you're finding these aquatic journeys helpful for your sleep or meditation practice, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your support helps bring these calming experiences to others who might be searching for a moment of peace in their busy lives. As we drift through the clear blue waters, we begin to notice sleek shadows moving with extraordinary grace in the distance. These are dolphins, approaching us with their characteristic curiosity and playfulness. Among all the ocean's inhabitants, dolphins perhaps share the most in common with humans when it comes to social intelligence and emotional complexity. Dolphins live in groups called pods, which can range from just a few individuals to over 1,000 in some species. These aren't merely random gatherings, they're highly structured social communities with complex relationships that researchers are still working to fully understand. Within these pods, dolphins form strong bonds that can last for decades, particularly between mothers and their calves, and among tight-knit groups of adult males that may remain together for their entire lives. The pod provides protection, companionship, and a framework for cooperative hunting. Watch now as the dolphins in our vision begin to circle a school of fish. See how they coordinate without any visible signals, some diving beneath the fish while others herd them from the sides. This is a dance they've perfected over millions of years of evolution, requiring extraordinary awareness of what each member of the group is doing at all times. Dolphins recognize themselves in mirrors, a rare ability in the animal kingdom that suggests a form of self-awareness previously thought to exist only in humans and a few great apes. They can also recognize their pod mates by their unique signature whistles even after being separated for years. Imagine maintaining friendships that can withstand long absences without any need for explanation upon reunion. Just pure joy at being together again. Each dolphin has a name, not given by humans, but a unique signature whistle that develops during their first year of life. This whistle serves as an identifier, similar to how we use names. When dolphins want to call a specific individual, they will often imitate that dolphin's signature whistle, essentially calling them by name. This complex communication system supports their intricate social structures and reflects the sophisticated neural architecture of their brains. Scientists who have spent decades studying dolphin societies often report feeling that they've only scratched the surface of understanding these beings. The dolphins themselves seem to recognize the limitations of human comprehension, sometimes exhibiting what appears to be patience with researchers, repeating behaviors, or slowing down interactions as if trying to help humans understand their world. Perhaps in our journey tonight, we too can learn from their patient wisdom. As you visualize these magnificent creatures swimming around you, notice how they move with such efficiency. Every curve of their body perfectly adapted to life in water. Their skin is incredibly smooth and sensitive, able to detect the slightest changes in water pressure and temperature. If you were to reach out and touch a passing dolphin, which we would never do in the wild without invitation, you would feel skin that's not slippery as many imagine, but firm and slightly rubbery, with the remarkable ability to shed outer cells continuously, reducing drag as they swim. Dolphins inhabit a world of sound much more than one of sight. They rely primarily on their advanced acoustic abilities to navigate, hunt, and communicate with one another. Listen now as you imagine the complex symphony of clicks, whistles, and pulses that surround these animals. Each sound carrying specific meaning and purpose in their underwater conversations. The most famous aspect of dolphin communication is echolocation, a biological sonar system that allows them to see with sound. A dolphin produces a series of clicks that travel through the water and bounce off objects in their environment. The returning echoes create a detailed acoustic picture, revealing the location, size, shape, and even the internal structure of whatever lies ahead. This ability is so refined that dolphins can detect a small fish buried beneath the sand on the ocean floor or distinguish between different types of metal objects from a distance. Their clicking sounds are produced by specialized air sacs beneath their blowholes, and these clicks can reach frequencies far beyond what human ears can perceive. While we typically hear sounds up to about 20,000 Hz, dolphins can produce and detect sounds up to 150,000 Hz. This gives them access to an acoustic world that we can scarcely imagine, rich with detailed information about their surroundings that would be invisible to our senses. In addition to these utilitarian clicks, dolphins communicate through an elaborate vocabulary of whistles, burstful sounds, and body language. Their whistles can be hauntingly beautiful, varying in pitch, duration, and pattern. Some researchers believe that dolphins can transmit as many as 35 different pieces of information in a single second of acoustic communication, far exceeding the information density of human speech. Perhaps most fascinating is their ability to project these sounds in specific directions, almost like aiming a flashlight of sound. They can direct a sequence of clicks toward another dolphin, then aim different sounds elsewhere without turning their bodies. This directional communication allows for private conversations even in a pod of many individuals, creating something akin to being able to whisper in a crowded room. When dolphins focus their echolocation clicks on other living beings, including humans, something remarkable happens. The returning echoes create a detailed picture of not just the outer form, but also internal structures. This means dolphins can potentially see your heartbeat, your lungs expanding and contracting, perhaps even activity in your nervous system. Some scientists speculate that this might explain the particular affinity dolphins seem to have for pregnant women. They can detect the second heartbeat and developing form within. As we float here in our imaginary ocean, surrounded by these intelligent beings, allow their sophisticated communication to remind you of the many ways we can connect with others and our environment beyond words. Through presence, through attention, through the silent language of empathy and understanding. One of the most endearing qualities of dolphins is their seemingly boundless capacity for play. Even adult dolphins devote significant time to activities that have no obvious survival purpose other than, perhaps, the sheer joy of being alive. Watch now as the dolphins in our visualization begin to frolic in the waves. Some leaping high into the air before splashing back down. Others spinning like underwater dancers. Some carrying seaweed on their fins or tails as if showing off a new accessory. This playfulness isn't trivial or childish. It appears to be a sophisticated evolutionary adaptation that enhances learning, strengthens social bonds, and develops problem-solving skills. Young dolphins learn crucial life skills through play, practicing hunting techniques or social interactions in a low-pressure environment. But unlike many species that primarily play in youth, dolphins continue these behaviors throughout their lives. They create toys from objects in their environment, air bubbles, seaweed, even small fish that they gently release unharmed after playing with them. They invent games spontaneously and have been observed taking turns in these games, demonstrating an understanding of fairness and reciprocity. Some dolphins have even been documented creating elaborate underwater smoke rings by expelling air in special ways, then manipulating these rings in what appears to be a form of artistic expression. Perhaps most fascinating is how readily dolphins invite other species, including humans, to join in their play. Marine biologists often report dolphins bringing them gifts of interesting objects found on the seafloor or initiating games of catch. Wild dolphins sometimes approach boats and surf in their bow waves, seemingly for no purpose other than the enjoyment of the ride. This willingness to engage in cross-species play suggests a kind of openness and curiosity that humans often aspire to but sometimes lose in adulthood. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine joining these dolphins in their effortless movements through the water. No strain, no struggle, just being carried by the currents and your own gentle momentum. Notice how the dolphins rarely swim in straight lines but instead move in flowing, sinuous curves. How they seem to find the path of least resistance through the water. How they use the ocean's own energy rather than fighting against it. This playful approach to life offers us a profound lesson in how we might navigate our own challenges, not with rigid determination, but with flexible grace, not with grim seriousness, but with creative curiosity, not alone, but in connection with others who share our journey. As night begins to fall in our oceanic meditation, you might wonder, how do creatures who need to breathe air sleep while surrounded by water? The answer reveals yet another fascinating adaptation of these remarkable beings, and it may help us understand more about the nature of consciousness itself. Dolphins cannot afford to fall completely unconscious as we do when we sleep. They must remain partially aware of their surroundings to periodically rise to the surface and breathe. Their solution is something truly extraordinary. They sleep with only half their brain at a time. This phenomenon, called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, allows one hemisphere of the brain to rest deeply while the other remains alert enough to control breathing and watch for predators. During this half-sleep state, one eye remains open, the eye connected to the awake hemisphere of the brain. After a few hours, they switch, allowing the active side to sleep while the rested side takes over the watch. This remarkable ability challenges our understanding of what sleep and consciousness actually are, suggesting that awareness might be more flexible and divisible than we typically assume. Researchers studying dolphin sleep patterns have found evidence that they do experience something akin to dreams, though likely quite different from our own. The sleeping hemisphere shows neural patterns similar to those observed in dreaming humans, raising intriguing questions about what a dolphin's dreams might contain. Do they revisit the day's events? Do they process emotional experiences? Do they perhaps dream of flying through air as freely as they swim through water? As you continue to relax more deeply in our guided meditation, consider how your own consciousness is gradually shifting. Not in the dramatic half-brain manner of dolphins, but in a gentle transition from waking alertness to the edges of sleep. Notice how thoughts may drift and transform, becoming less linear and more fluid, much like the movements of the dolphins themselves. The dolphins in our visualization now begin to slow their movements. Some floating nearly motionless at the surface, one eye gently closed. Their breathing becoming deeper and more regular. They remain in loose groups even while resting, maintaining their social connections even in this vulnerable state. There's a profound beauty in how they trust one another to keep watch, how they quite literally sleep in each other's presence. As our time with these magnificent beings begins to draw to a close, I invite you to immerse yourself fully in the experience of moving like a dolphin through the water. To feel in your imagination what it might be like to have a body so perfectly adapted to the ocean environment. Imagine the extraordinary freedom of dolphin movement. The water supporting your body completely, removing all pressure from your joints and muscles. Your streamlined form cutting through the water with minimal resistance. Your powerful tail propelling you forward with seemingly effortless speed. Feel the water flowing over your skin, cool and caressing. The subtle variations in temperature as you move through different currents. The gentle pressure against your body as you dive deeper. The exhilarating release as you shoot toward the surface and momentarily break free of the water's embrace, soaring through the air before returning to your liquid home. Imagine the sensation of using echolocation, sending out sound waves that return to you as detailed images, creating a three-dimensional map of everything around you. In this space of deep imagination, perhaps you can sense how the boundaries between yourself and the environment might blur. How you might perceive the water not as something separate from yourself, but as a medium through which you express your very being. As a dolphin, you would likely experience a profound sense of connection to your pod members. Awareness of their positions and movements would be as natural as awareness of your own limbs. Communication would flow between you not just through deliberate signals, but through a constant stream of acoustic information, a shared sonic environment creating a type of group consciousness. Allow this visualization to deepen your relaxation. Let the imagined freedom of dolphin movement release any remaining tension in your physical body. Let the flow of water in your mind's eye wash away any lingering thoughts or concerns. Just as dolphins move with the currents rather than against them, allow yourself to move with the natural flow of your breath and heartbeat toward deeper states of peace. If you're enjoying this oceanic journey and the sense of connection it brings to the remarkable creatures of our planet, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support helps create more of these immersive experiences and brings them to others seeking moments of calm and wonder. As we prepare to transition to our next exploration, the magnificent journeys these dolphins undertake across vast ocean expanses carry with you the lessons they've shared, the grace of moving with rather than against life's currents, the joy found in playful engagement with your environment, the balance of independence and deep connection with others, and the extraordinary ability to rest and rejuvenate while remaining gently aware of the world around you. Feel yourself drifting now, floating in the gentle embrace of ocean waters. You're breathing slow and deep like the rhythmic rise and fall of waves. Your mind clear and receptive like the vast blue expanse of the sea itself. Ready to continue our journey together through the magnificent underwater world. If you're still awake and listening, I invite you to share in the comments what aspect of dolphin life you find most fascinating, their social intelligence, their playful nature, or perhaps their unique way of sleeping. In our next section, we'll follow these remarkable beings on their epic migrations across ocean basins, discovering the wisdom they've gathered through generations of navigating our planet's watery realm. As we continue our gentle drift through the oceanic world, our dolphin companions remain by our side, guiding us deeper into their fascinating lives. The soft blue light filters through the water around us, creating dancing patterns on their sleek bodies as they move with effortless grace. Let us now follow these remarkable beings on their epic journeys across the vast expanses of the ocean. While some dolphin species remain in relatively consistent territories, many embark on remarkable migrations that span hundreds or even thousands of miles across open ocean. These journeys represent some of the most impressive navigational feats in the animal kingdom. Unlike birds that migrate through visible skies or land animals that follow physical landmarks, dolphins navigate through the seemingly featureless expanse of open water with extraordinary precision. Spinner dolphins, named for their acrobatic aerial spins, travel nightly from deep offshore waters where they feed to shallow bays where they rest during daylight hours. This daily migration follows the vertical movement of the deep scattering layer, a concentrated band of small fish and squid that rise toward the surface at night and sink to deeper waters during the day. The dolphins, perfectly attuned to this rhythm, follow their prey through this daily vertical migration. Other species, like the common dolphin, undertake seasonal migrations that follow changing water temperatures and prey availability. Imagine now the majestic sight of hundreds of dolphins moving as a coordinated unit across vast stretches of open ocean, their bodies creating a rippling pattern of movement just beneath the surface. The sunlight catching their dorsal fins as they momentarily break the water's plane. How do they navigate these enormous distances without landmarks? Scientists believe they use a combination of extraordinary senses. They can detect the Earth's magnetic field, similar to how we might use a compass. They can sense subtle changes in ocean currents and water temperature. The echolocation we explored earlier allows them to create detailed maps of underwater topography. And perhaps most impressively, they may recognize the unique acoustic signature of different ocean regions, the specific way sound travels through water in particular locations. These migrations aren't solitary endeavors. They're collective journeys undertaken together. Imagine yourself now as part of this magnificent procession across the open ocean, moving in harmony with dozens or hundreds of others, each body creating small vortices in the water that actually help reduce the swimming effort of those behind them. a living demonstration of how cooperation makes difficult journeys easier for everyone involved. As you visualize this migration, feel the rhythm of movement through your own body. The gentle undulation that propels you forward with minimal effort. The way your breathing naturally synchronizes with this wave-like motion. Each breath carrying you deeper into relaxation just as each tail movement carries the dolphins further on their journey. As we travel with our dolphin companions, we begin to notice the intricate social dynamics within their pod. This isn't merely a collection of individuals traveling in the same direction, it's a complex family structure with bonds that span decades and generations. The depth of these connections rivals those found in the most socially sophisticated land mammals, including primates and elephants. At the core of many dolphin societies are the maternal bonds. Mother dolphins typically stay with their calves for 3 to 6 years, though the emotional connection lasts a lifetime. During those formative years, the mother teaches her calf everything from hunting techniques to social etiquette within the pod. The young dolphin learns not just by instinct but through active teaching, observation, and practice, a form of cultural transmission that creates continuity across generations. Unlike many animal species where young males leave their birth group, in some dolphin species like the bottlenose, male offspring often maintain strong bonds with their mothers well into adulthood. These adult sons may regularly return to visit their mothers even while forming their own male alliances. Female offspring sometimes remain with their maternal pod for life, creating generations of grandmothers, mothers, and daughters swimming together. Male dolphins often form remarkably strong bonds with each other as well. These bromance can last for decades, with pairs or trios of males working together to court females, defend against predators, and generally navigate the complexities of dolphin society. The strength of these bonds is such that if one member of an alliance dies, the survivors often display behavior consistent with grief, temporarily withdrawing from social activities. Imagine now that you can perceive these invisible bonds between the dolphins swimming around you. Lines of connection, like shimmering threads of light, linking mothers to calves, siblings to each other, lifelong friends moving in synchrony. These connections form a web of relationship that supports each individual, providing security, companionship, and a sense of belonging that enriches their experience of life. As the dolphins continue their migration, notice how they periodically rearrange themselves. How different individuals take the lead at different times. How they check on the youngest and oldest members of the pod, sometimes slowing the group's pace to accommodate those who need more time. This fluid leadership structure allows them to draw on the strengths and wisdom of each pod member as circumstances require. In your own body, as you continue to relax more deeply, feel the gentle support of the water around you. Just as the dolphin pod supports each of its members, allow yourself to feel completely held and supported in this moment. There's nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to do. Just this peaceful floating in the eternal present. The quiet joy of existing within the flow of life. Among the most remarkable aspects of dolphin behavior is their apparent altruism, their willingness to help not only members of their own species but other creatures as well, including humans. These acts of cross-species compassion have been documented countless times and remain one of the most intriguing aspects of dolphin behavior. Dolphins regularly engage in what scientists call epimuletic behavior, helping sick, injured, or otherwise vulnerable pod members. They physically support ailing dolphins at the surface so they can breathe, sometimes for days at a time. They bring food to injured companions who cannot hunt. They've even been observed creating a protective circle around vulnerable members when predators are nearby, positioning their strongest members at the perimeter. But perhaps most fascinating is how this helping behavior extends beyond their own kind. There are well-documented cases of dolphins protecting swimmers from shark attacks, sometimes at considerable risk to themselves. They've guided stranded whales back to deeper water. They've even been observed showing particular gentleness around pregnant women and children, as if recognizing their special vulnerability. In many cultures around the world, stories of dolphins rescuing humans from drowning have been passed down through generations. While some skeptics might dismiss these as mere folklore, the sheer volume of these accounts across different eras and geographic regions suggests there may be truth to them. Modern scientific observations have confirmed that dolphins do indeed sometimes intervene when humans are in distress at sea. Why would dolphins help other species? Scientists can only speculate. Perhaps it's an extension of the caregiving instincts that are so strong in their societies. Perhaps it reflects a form of empathy based on their highly developed emotional processing centers in their brains. Or perhaps it represents something even more profound, a recognition of the fundamental connection between all living beings that transcends species boundaries. As we float here among our dolphin guides, imagine that you can feel their attention directed toward you. Not invasive or demanding, but curious and compassionate. Sensing your physical and emotional state through their acute perceptual abilities. Perhaps even responding to subtle cues you aren't consciously aware of giving. There's a gentle acceptance in their gaze, an absence of judgment that allows you to simply be as you are in this moment. This special relationship between humans and dolphins extends far beyond their occasional rescue efforts. For thousands of years, across vastly different cultures, dolphins have occupied a unique place in human mythology, art, literature, and spiritual traditions. They seem to exist in a liminal space between the familiar and the mysterious, enough like us to inspire connection, different enough to embody something otherworldly. In ancient Greek mythology, dolphins were sacred to both Apollo and Poseidon. They were believed to carry the souls of the dead to the islands of the blessed and were associated with rebirth and transformation. The famous Delphic oracle takes its name from Delphis, the Greek word for dolphin. The Greeks told stories of dolphins saving sailors from drowning and guiding ships safely to harbor during storms. In Polynesian cultures, dolphins were often considered the messengers between islands and between the human world and the realm of sea deities. In some Native American traditions, they were seen as reincarnations of drowned humans who had been given a second chance at life in another form. The ancient Minoans of Crete created beautiful frescoes depicting dolphins, suggesting they held special significance in one of humanity's earliest advanced civilizations. This cross-cultural reverence suggests something universal in the human response to dolphins, a recognition, perhaps, of another intelligent species with whom we share this planet despite evolving along very different paths. When we encounter dolphins, we may be experiencing one of the closest things possible to communication with a truly non-human intelligence, a being whose mind has been shaped by a radically different environment and evolutionary history from our own. In recent decades, our scientific understanding has begun to catch up with what many traditional cultures intuited, that dolphins possess complex consciousness, emotional lives, and social structures that in some ways parallel our own. Studies of dolphin brains have revealed neural structures associated with self-awareness, empathy, and complex problem-solving that rival or exceed those of primates. Areas devoted to emotional processing are particularly well developed, suggesting a rich inner life that we can only begin to imagine. As you continue to drift peacefully alongside these extraordinary beings, consider what it means to share our planet with another species of such intelligence and emotional sophistication. How might recognizing the depths of dolphin consciousness expand our understanding of what it means to be a thinking, feeling being? How might it remind us of our connection to all life, not just that which resembles us most closely? As our exploration of dolphin society draws to a close, I invite you to fully immerse yourself in the experience of swimming among them as an honorary member of their pod. Imagine that they've accepted you completely, allowing you to join their fluid movements through the sunlit waters. Feel the gentle current created by their passing bodies, the subtle pressure waves that pulse through the water around you, the occasional brush of smooth skin against yours as a playful dolphin swims near. Notice the perfect hydrodynamic efficiency of their movements, no wasted energy, no unnecessary resistance, just pure flow through their liquid environment. Listen to the symphony of clicks, whistles, and pulses that surround you. Communication flowing constantly between pod members. Some sounds directed specifically at you, perhaps checking on your well-being or guiding you to stay with the group. Though you can't understand the specific content of their vocalizations, you can feel the emotional tone, curiosity, playfulness, a kind of gentle acceptance. As you swim with the pod, you notice how they seamlessly adjust their positions around you, always keeping you within the protective formation, slowing slightly to match your pace, occasionally circling back to check on you if you fall a bit behind. There's a profound sense of being held within a living, breathing community, a feeling of belonging that transcends the barriers of species. The sunlight filters through the water surface above, creating rippling patterns across the dolphins' bodies and yours. The water is clear and comfortably cool against your skin. Small fish dart occasionally through the spaces between the larger dolphin bodies. Everything moves in a kind of harmonious dance, each being finding its place in the greater pattern. As you continue swimming with the pod, allow yourself to synchronize your breathing with their rhythmic movements, each breath becoming deeper and more relaxed, your body feeling increasingly buoyant and weightless, all tension dissolving into the surrounding water. With each exhalation, you sink a little deeper into this peaceful state of connection and flow. There's a profound lesson in this experience of moving with the pod, a reminder that we too are social beings who thrive when we feel connected to our community. That there's a special kind of ease that comes from being fully accepted and supported by those around us. That sometimes the wisest course is to surrender to the greater flow rather than struggling to chart our own separate path. As we prepare to transition to our next oceanic exploration, the ancient wisdom of sea turtles, carry with you the feeling of harmony and connection you've experienced among the dolphins. These magnificent beings have shared with us their joy in movement, their deep social bonds, and their remarkable capacity for compassion that extends even beyond their own kind. Feel yourself continuing to drift peacefully in the gentle ocean current. Your breath slow and deep. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to encounter the next wise inhabitants of the sea. The dolphins begin to move away now, their sleek forms becoming silvery flashes in the distance as they continue their endless journey through the world's oceans. If you're still awake and listening, perhaps you might share in the comments what lessons from dolphin society you find most meaningful for your own life. In our next section, we'll meet the ancient mariners of the sea, the wise and patient turtles who have navigated these waters for over 100 million years. As our dolphin companions fade into the blue distance, the ocean current carries us gently toward our next encounter. The water around us grows slightly warmer, the light softens to a golden green hue, and the pace of life seems to slow perceptibly. We have entered the realm of one of the ocean's most ancient inhabitants, the sea turtle. These remarkable creatures have been navigating Earth's oceans for more than 100 million years, their serene presence a living connection to the age of dinosaurs. Let us pause for a moment to comprehend the magnitude of time. 100 million years. This span is so vast that human civilization, our entire recorded history, occupies less than 0.1% of the time that sea turtles have been gliding through Earth's oceans. When the ancestors of modern sea turtles first appeared, flowering plants were just beginning to diversify on land. The continents were positioned differently than they are today, and the dinosaurs still walk the earth. Through the countless changes that have transformed our planet, the extinction of the dinosaurs, the rise and fall of mountain ranges, the coming and going of ice ages, sea turtles have endured. They have witnessed the entire evolution of modern mammals, including humans. Their ancient lineage has survived 5 mass extinction events, adapting and persisting while countless other species disappeared forever. This extraordinary evolutionary persistence speaks to the effectiveness of their design. The sea turtle's body represents one of nature's most successful experiments, a form so well adapted to its environment that it has required relatively little modification for 100 million years. Imagine the wisdom embedded in a design that has withstood the test of such immense time, a living testament to nature's patient refinement. As one materializes in our field of vision, notice the streamlined shape of the turtle's body. The shell that has evolved to be hydrodynamic while still providing protection. The powerful front flippers specialized for propulsion rather than walking. The pointed beak adapted for their specific diets. Every aspect of their form represents countless generations of refinement. Scientists have traced the evolutionary path of sea turtles back to land-dwelling ancestors that gradually returned to the ocean. This return journey required remarkable adaptations, the transformation of legs into flippers, the development of specialized salt glands to process seawater, the ability to hold their breath for extraordinary periods, and modifications to their reproductive strategy that maintained their connection to land through egg-laying. This ancient lineage carries wisdom beyond our comprehension, the cellular memory of a species that has witnessed the Earth transform itself over and over again. As we encounter these living fossils, imagine what perspective might come from belonging to a species that has thrived in the ocean through epochs of planetary change. How might it shape one's perception of time itself? The most distinctive feature of any turtle is, of course, its shell. That uniquely evolved structure that serves as both skeleton and shelter. For sea turtles, this adaptation has been modified for life in the water, lighter and more streamlined than their terrestrial cousins, yet still providing vital protection. The shell of a sea turtle represents an evolutionary compromise between mobility and security, a balance that has served them well for millions of years. Unlike the shells of land turtles, a sea turtle cannot retract its head or limbs into its shell. This trade-off allows for more efficient swimming but means they must rely on other strategies for protection, primarily speed, depth, and avoidance rather than complete withdrawal. It's a beautiful example of how evolution shapes adaptations to specific environments, optimizing for the challenges of oceanic life. The shell of a sea turtle is composed of 2 main parts, the carapace, the domed upper portion, and the plastron, the flatter lower portion. These are not separate from the turtle but are actually extensions of its skeleton, the ribs, spine, and sternum that have expanded and fused with specialized plates to create this protective structure. Unlike our bones, which are hidden within our bodies, a turtle's skeleton is partially external, an inside-out arrangement that offers unique advantages. Each species of sea turtle has a slightly different shell shape adapted to its particular lifestyle. The leatherback, the largest sea turtle, has a more flexible, leather-like shell that allows it to dive deeper than any other sea turtle, up to 4,000 feet below the surface. The hawksbill has an elaborately patterned shell that helps it blend with coral reefs. The green turtle has a more domed shell, perfect for its herbivorous lifestyle among seagrass beds. Beyond its protective function, the turtle's shell is also a living record of its life journey. The patterns of scuts, the plates that make up the shell, can be used to identify individual turtles, each one as unique as a human fingerprint. And like the rings of a tree, the shell records patterns of growth, telling the story of feast and famine, health and hardship throughout the turtle's long life. As you visualize a sea turtle swimming peacefully nearby, consider the shell as a metaphor. A mobile home that travels wherever the turtle goes, providing both protection and identity. In many human cultures, the turtle shell represents the idea of carrying one's home wherever one goes, a symbol of self-sufficiency and the security that comes from within rather than from external circumstances. This portable sanctuary offers a profound lesson about finding safety in an ever-changing world. The turtle doesn't seek to control its environment or create permanent structures. It carries its essential protection with it, adapting to whatever conditions it encounters. There's a deep wisdom in this approach to life, the understanding that true security comes not from trying to create perfect external circumstances but from developing internal resources that travel with us through all of life's changes. Perhaps the most remarkable chapter in the sea turtle's story is its life cycle, a journey that begins in extreme vulnerability and, if successful, culminates in the massive, majestic creatures we see gliding through open ocean. This cycle connects land and sea in an ancient rhythm that has continued unbroken for millions of years. The story begins on a moonlit beach, where a female turtle, having navigated hundreds or even thousands of miles from her feeding grounds, emerges from the ocean to lay her eggs. The beach where she digs her nest is likely the very same beach where she herself hatched decades earlier. Using her rear flippers with surprising dexterity, she excavates a chamber in the sand about 18 inches deep, where she will deposit between 80 and 120 eggs, depending on her species. Her task complete, she carefully covers the nest and returns to the sea, leaving her offspring to develop unattended. The eggs will incubate in the warm sand for approximately 2 months, their development time and even their gender determined by the temperature of the nest. Warmer temperatures produce more females, cooler temperatures more males, a temperature-dependent sex determination that may help the species adapt to changing climatic conditions over evolutionary time. When the time comes, the hatchlings break free from their eggs using a specialized temporary egg tooth. Then, in one of nature's most poignant struggles, they begin to dig upward through the sand together. This coordinated effort may take several days, with the tiny turtles resting periodically as they work their way toward the surface. Finally, usually under the cover of darkness, they emerge as a group onto the beach. Instinctively, they orient toward the brightest horizon. In natural conditions, the reflection of the moon and stars on the ocean surface, and begin their desperate dash toward the sea. This journey of just a few meters may be the most dangerous moments of their entire lives, as predators such as crabs, birds, and small mammals await the nutritious bounty of hatchlings. For those who reach the water, the challenges have only begun. These tiny creatures, no bigger than the palm of your hand, must immediately begin swimming against the surf and continue swimming for up to 24 hours in what scientists call the swimming frenzy. This behavior helps them reach deeper offshore waters where some predators are less concentrated. The early years of a sea turtle's life are often referred to as the lost years, because until recently, scientists weren't sure where young turtles spent this time. Research now suggests that many species find refuge in floating sargassum seaweed mats, which provide both food and shelter as the young turtles drift with ocean currents. During these years, they are growing rapidly, developing the strength and skills they'll need for adult life. As they mature over decades, sea turtles undergo remarkable transformations in both size and behavior. Some species, like the green turtle, switch from a carnivorous diet in youth to a primarily herbivorous diet as adults. The leatherback begins life the size of a dinner plate and can grow to the size of a small car, weighing up to 2,000 pounds. This extraordinary growth represents one of the most dramatic size increases of any vertebrate animal. Imagine now that you can witness this entire life cycle compressed into a few moments. The vulnerable hatchling emerging from the sand, the frantic race to the sea, the hidden years of growth and development. the gradual transformation into the massive, serene adult, the eventual return to the natal beach to continue the cycle. There's something profound about this circle of life that has continued virtually unchanged since the time of the dinosaurs. One of the most fascinating aspects of sea turtles is their extraordinary longevity. While we don't know exactly how long they live in the wild, they very likely outlive the careers of the scientists who study them. Conservative estimates suggest they can live 50 to 100 years, with some possibly reaching even greater ages. This places them among the longest-lived creatures on Earth, witnesses to changes that unfold across human generations. This extended lifespan gives sea turtles a perspective on time that differs dramatically from our own. For a creature that may live a century, the passing of seasons, the cycling of ocean currents, and even the changes wrought by decades of human activity may appear as temporary patterns in an endless flow. There's a timelessness to their existence that invites us to reconsider our own relationship with time. Watch now as the turtle near us moves with deliberate, unhurried strokes of its flippers. There is no rush, no frantic energy, just steady, efficient movement. Sea turtles can maintain this calm swimming for extraordinary distances, with some migrations spanning more than 1,400 miles across open ocean. Their heart rates are remarkably slow, as few as 1 beat every 9 minutes when diving, a physiological manifestation of their unhurried approach to life. This meditative quality has made turtles symbols of patience, wisdom, and longevity across diverse human cultures. In many Native American traditions, the turtle carries the world on its back. In Chinese mythology, the turtle is one of 4 sacred animals, representing the northern quadrant of the sky and the element of water. The shell's pattern of 13 central scuts and 28 around the edge has been interpreted as representing lunar months and days, connecting the turtle to ancient timekeeping. As you continue to relax more deeply while imagining yourself floating alongside this ancient mariner, allow some of its timeless quality to infuse your consciousness. Feel your own internal pace slowing, your thoughts becoming less hurried, your awareness expanding to encompass a larger perspective, one that isn't confined to the urgencies of the moment but extends into a broader appreciation of life's continuous flow. There's a profound wisdom in the turtle's unhurried approach to existence, a reminder that speed isn't always advantageous, that patience often yields rewards unavailable to those who rush, that sometimes the steadiest pace allows for the longest journey. In our rapidly changing human world, with its emphasis on immediacy and constant activity, the turtle offers a counterbalance, an invitation to slow down, to proceed with deliberation, to take the long view. As our time with this magnificent creature draws to a close, I invite you to immerse yourself fully in the experience of swimming alongside a sea turtle. Notice how, despite its seemingly cumbersome form, it moves through water with extraordinary grace, not so much swimming as flying through its liquid environment. The front flippers move in a pattern reminiscent of a bird's wings, generating lift and propulsion with each powerful stroke. Unlike fish that wiggle their bodies to move forward, the turtle's rigid shell prevents this type of locomotion, so it has evolved this alternative approach, a beautiful example of how different evolutionary paths can lead to equally effective solutions. Imagine yourself matching the turtle's rhythm as it glides effortlessly through clear blue water. Its movements are slow but powerful, covering distance with minimal exertion. There's no resistance, no struggle, just harmonious movement through the supporting medium of water. With each stroke of its flippers, the turtle seems to embrace the ocean rather than fight against it. Watch how fish sometimes gather around the turtle, using its large body as mobile shelter or feeding on small organisms that might be disturbed by its passing. The turtle seems unperturbed by these companions, accepting their presence as part of the natural flow of ocean life. There's a lesson here in coexistence, in moving through the world in a way that accommodates other beings rather than displacing them. As you continue to drift alongside this ancient creature, allow your breathing to synchronize with the rhythm of its movements. Slow, steady, unhurried. Feel your body becoming increasingly relaxed with each breath. Any remaining tension dissolving into the surrounding water. Your mind becoming clearer, more spacious, less cluttered with transient concerns. There's a profound peace in sharing this underwater space with a being whose lineage stretches back 100 million years. A living connection to Earth's ancient past. A creature whose ancestors swam these same oceans when the continents themselves were in different positions. In the presence of such evolutionary persistence, our human concerns may take on a different perspective, not diminished in importance, but perhaps held within a larger, more compassionate framework. As we prepare to transition to our next exploration, the remarkable global migrations of these ancient mariners carry with you the turtle's gifts of patience, persistence, and perspective. These qualities have enabled sea turtles to survive through epochs of planetary change, and they may serve us equally well as we navigate the challenges of our own lives. Feel yourself continuing to float peacefully in the gentle ocean current. Your breath slow and deep like the turtle's unhurried rhythm. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to follow these ancient navigators on their extraordinary journeys across the world's oceans. If you're still awake and listening, perhaps you might consider in your thoughts what lesson from this sea turtle's ancient wisdom resonates most deeply with you tonight. Is it their patience? Their adaptability? Their remarkable journey from vulnerable beginnings to oceanic mastery? In our next section, we'll follow these magnificent creatures on their epic migrations across entire ocean basins, journeys that connect distant shores through the determination of a species that has outlived the dinosaurs. Our ancient turtle companion continues to guide us through the liquid realm, its presence a beacon of tranquility in the ever-shifting ocean environment. As we follow along, floating effortlessly in its wake, we begin to sense that we are embarking on something much greater than a simple swim. The turtle's deliberate movements suggest purpose, the beginning of one of nature's most remarkable journeys. Let us accompany this ancient navigator as it embarks on a migration that will span entire ocean basins, connecting distant shores through the determination of a species that has witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. The migratory journeys undertaken by sea turtles stand among the most impressive feats of navigation in the animal kingdom. These ancient mariners regularly traverse thousands of miles of open ocean, crossing entire sea basins with a precision that continues to amaze scientists. Unlike birds that can use landmarks and stars visible from the air, sea turtles navigate through the seemingly featureless expanse of the open ocean, often following corridors of migration that remain consistent across generations. The leatherback turtle holds the record for the longest known migration of any sea turtle, with some individuals traveling more than 10,000 miles in a single year, a distance equivalent to swimming from New York to Tokyo and halfway back again. These enormous creatures, which can weigh up to 2,000 pounds, have been tracked swimming from Indonesia to the coast of Oregon, from the Caribbean to the shores of Africa, and from New England to the southern tip of South America. Imagine now our turtle companion beginning such a journey. Its powerful front flippers propelling it forward with unhurried determination. Its course set by ancient instincts and sophisticated sensory capabilities that science is only beginning to understand. There is something deeply moving about this solitary voyager setting out across thousands of miles of open water, guided by inner navigational systems that have been refined through millions of years of evolution. The green sea turtle, named for the color of its fat rather than its shell, undertakes similarly impressive journeys between its feeding grounds and nesting beaches. Researchers have documented green turtles swimming more than 1,400 miles from Brazil to Ascension Island, a tiny volcanic outcrop in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean that measures just 34 square miles. The fact that they can locate such a small target in the vastness of the ocean speaks to the extraordinary precision of their navigational abilities. Loggerhead turtles embark on perhaps the most epic journey of all during their developmental years. Hatching on beaches in Japan, Florida, or the Mediterranean, young loggerheads enter the ocean and begin a multi-year circumnavigation of entire ocean basins, following major current systems in a journey that may take them 10,000 miles before returning to coastal feeding areas near their birthplace. This grand circular route helps them avoid predators, find food, and grow to maturity before facing the challenges of nearshore environments. Each of these journeys represents not just an impressive physical feat but also an extraordinary navigational accomplishment. The ocean lacks obvious landmarks. Currents shift. Storms obscure celestial navigation. Yet these ancient travelers find their way with remarkable consistency, maintaining headings across thousands of miles of open water toward destinations they may have visited only once before, decades earlier. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine the vastness of ocean being traversed. The quiet determination of the solitary traveler. The ancient wisdom encoded in its very cells that allows it to undertake such remarkable journeys. There's a profound lesson here about trusting one's inner guidance, about the possibility of finding direction even when the path ahead seems featureless and unmarked. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of sea turtle migration is not just the distance covered but the precision with which they return to specific beaches to nest. Often the very same beaches where they themselves hatched decades earlier. This phenomenon, known as natal homing, represents one of the most precise feats of navigation in the natural world. A female green turtle may feed in seagrass meadows hundreds or thousands of miles from her birthplace for 30 to 40 years before reaching reproductive maturity. Then, when the time comes to lay her own eggs, she embarks on her long journey home, returning to a specific stretch of coastline she hasn't seen since she was the size of a dinner plate decades before. What makes this accomplishment even more extraordinary is that the beach itself may have changed considerably in the intervening years. Coastlines erode. Vegetation patterns shift. Human development alters landmarks. Yet something about that specific location remains recognizable to the returning turtle after an absence of several decades. How do they accomplish this remarkable feat? Scientists believe sea turtles employ multiple navigational systems that work in concert. Near the coast, they can detect the specific chemical signatures of their natal rivers flowing into the sea. Farther out, they appear to sense the Earth's magnetic field with extraordinary precision, creating a kind of magnetic map of their world. They may also use celestial cues, ocean currents, water temperatures, and even subtle variations in wave patterns to help guide their journey. Imagine now our turtle companion approaching a distant shore after weeks or months of swimming across the open ocean. The water becoming gradually shallower. The soft blues of the depths giving way to the more varied colors of coastal waters. Perhaps there's a sense of recognition, of homecoming, as it detects the unique signature of its natal beach, a place imprinted on its awareness from the moment it first crawled toward the sea as a hatchling. This remarkable homing ability speaks to something profound about memory and attachment to place. The turtle's journey suggests that some connections transcend time and distance, that the imprint of home can guide us back across vast expanses, even after the passage of many years. There's a quiet poetry in this aspect of turtle life that has resonated with humans across cultures and throughout history. As you continue to follow your turtle guide through these tranquil waters, allow yourself to reflect on your own sense of home. Not necessarily a physical place, but perhaps that internal sense of belonging and rightness that we all seek in our lives. Like the turtle, perhaps you too have an inner compass that can guide you toward where you truly belong, even across the sometimes turbulent seas of life. Consider for a moment the cognitive feat represented by these migrations. The thousands of miles of ocean terrain, the seasonal patterns of currents and temperatures, the subtle variations in magnetic fields, all somehow mapped within the consciousness of a single sea turtle. This mental representation of vast oceanic territories represents one of the most remarkable memory systems in the natural world. Unlike some migratory species that follow leaders or learn routes from others, sea turtles typically travel alone. Each individual must carry within itself all the navigational information required for journeys spanning thousands of miles and multiple ecosystems. The mental map stored within a turtle's brain is accumulated and refined through experience, integrating multiple sensory inputs into a coherent understanding of ocean geography. The ability to maintain such a map over decades is even more remarkable. A female turtle returning to her nesting beach after 30 years must retain information from her initial outward journey as a hatchling, a time when her brain was a fraction of its adult size. Somehow, these crucial navigational details are preserved through the dramatic growth and development of the turtle's nervous system, remaining accessible even after decades of gathering new experiences. For many turtle species, these mental maps aren't limited to a single migration route. Leatherbacks, in particular, adopt different seasonal movement patterns, traveling to specific feeding areas that become productive at particular times of year, then shifting to other regions as conditions change. This adaptive navigation requires not just memory of places but an understanding of the temporal rhythms of ocean productivity, knowing not just where to go, but when. Imagine the richness of this internal map. The underwater mountains and valleys, the warm and cold water currents, the feeding grounds rich with jellyfish or seagrass, the dangerous passages where predators lurk, and the safe resting areas where the turtle might recover from long stretches of swimming. All this information carried within the consciousness of a single being, guiding its movements across a vast blue wilderness. As you continue to relax more deeply, consider the quiet wisdom of a creature that carries such extensive knowledge without any need to externalize it. No books, no maps, no GPS, just internal awareness accumulated through direct experience of the world. There's a profound lesson here about the capacity for deep knowing that exists within living beings, a reminder that some of the most important knowledge isn't found in external sources but in direct, embodied experience of the world. Sea turtles don't make their epic journeys through brute force alone. They are masters at reading and utilizing the natural flows of the ocean, the currents that form great circular patterns in each major ocean basin. These currents function as flowing highways in the sea, and turtles have evolved to recognize and utilize them with extraordinary skill. Watch now as our turtle companion adjusts its position slightly, angling its body to catch a current flowing in its desired direction. With minimal adjustment of its flippers, it's now moving much faster while expending less energy, carried along by one of the ocean's great conveyor belts. This ability to find and utilize favorable currents is crucial for animals undertaking such long-distance migrations with limited energy reserves. The relationship between turtles and ocean currents begins in their earliest days. Hatchlings emerging from nests quickly make their way offshore and into major current systems like the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic or the Kuroshio in the Pacific. These powerful flows carry the tiny turtles far from coastal predators and into the open ocean, where they find relative safety and food during their vulnerable early years. As they mature, turtles develop increasingly sophisticated awareness of these current patterns. They learn to distinguish between surface currents that might speed their journey and deeper countercurrents that could impede it. They discover the boundaries between different water masses, where nutrients tend to concentrate and food is more abundant. They recognize the great oceanic gyres, the massive circular current systems that dominate each ocean basin, and use them to facilitate their continent-spanning migrations. This dance with ocean currents represents a profound harmony with natural forces, not resisting or fighting against them, but rather understanding and flowing with them. The turtle doesn't struggle against the immense power of ocean currents. It works with them, allowing their energy to amplify its own, choosing when to ride and when to diverge based on an internal map built through generations of evolutionary wisdom. There's a beautiful metaphor here for our own lives, the idea that we might accomplish more by flowing with certain natural currents in our existence rather than constantly swimming against them. That sometimes the path of least resistance might also be the path of greatest wisdom. That by understanding the larger patterns that shape our world, we can navigate more effectively while preserving our limited energy for when it's truly needed. As you continue to float alongside your turtle guide, feel the gentle push and pull of the water around you. The subtle variations in temperature and pressure that signal different water masses. The almost imperceptible acceleration as you enter a favorable current together. There's a profound peace in surrendering to these natural flows while maintaining your overall direction, a balance of intention and acceptance that the turtle has mastered over millions of years. As our exploration of sea turtle migrations begins to draw to a close, I invite you to fully immerse yourself in the experience of traveling alongside these ancient voyagers. Imagine yourself floating effortlessly in the clear blue water, your body completely supported as you observe the turtle's steady progress through the vast oceanic wilderness. Notice the turtle's unwavering pace. Not hurried or frantic, but consistent and determined. Each powerful stroke of its flippers carrying it further along its tremendous journey. There's no wasted energy, no unnecessary movement, just a steady rhythm of travel that can be maintained for weeks or even months. This is not a sprint but an ultramarathon, a journey that requires patience and persistence rather than speed. The turtle's eyes occasionally meet yours, conveying a quiet knowing that transcends the differences between your species. Those eyes have witnessed countless ocean sunrises and sunsets, have peered into the depths and up at the star-filled sky, have seen coastlines before humans ever built upon them. There's an ancient wisdom in that gaze, a connection to Earth's deep history that few other living creatures can claim. As you swim together through the endless blue, notice how the light plays through the water, creating shifting patterns across the turtle's shell and your own body. How small fish sometimes gather in the slipstream behind the larger creature. How the turtle's path occasionally adjusts, perhaps responding to subtle cues imperceptible to your awareness. This is movement with purpose, not random wandering but directed travel guided by an internal map of remarkable precision. Feel your breathing falling into rhythm with the turtle's steady pace. Each breath becoming deeper and more relaxed. Your body growing increasingly heavy and comfortable as you continue to float in the supporting embrace of the ocean. All thoughts of destinations and arrivals feeding into the simple presence of the journey itself, the eternal now of gliding through clear blue water alongside your ancient guide. There's a profound lesson in this visualization, a reminder that many of life's most meaningful journeys aren't about rushing from point A to point B, but about maintaining steady progress over time. That persistence often accomplishes what frantic effort cannot. That there can be deep peace in simply continuing forward, one stroke at a time, guided by inner knowing of where you're meant to go. The ocean stretches endlessly around you, a vast blue expanse that might seem intimidating in its vastness. Yet the turtle shows no hesitation or anxiety about the scale of its journey. There's a quiet confidence in its movement, a trust in its own navigational abilities and in the ocean itself to provide what is needed along the way. Perhaps this too is a teaching that when we're aligned with our true direction, the vastness of what lies ahead need not overwhelm us. We need only focus on the next stroke, the next breath, the next moment of our journey. As we prepare to transition to our next oceanic exploration, the vibrant communities of coral reefs, carry with you the turtle's gifts of patient determination and trust in your inner guidance. These qualities have enabled sea turtles to navigate Earth's oceans for 100 million years, and they may serve us equally well as we navigate the sometimes turbulent seas of our own lives. Feel yourself continuing to float peacefully in the gentle blue embrace of the ocean. Your breath slow and steady like the turtle's unhurried strokes. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to discover the colorful oasis of coral reefs that await us in our next section. If you're still awake and listening, perhaps you might contemplate what aspect of the sea turtle's extraordinary navigational abilities you find most remarkable: their precision in returning to specific beaches, their ability to traverse entire oceans, or perhaps their skill at reading and utilizing ocean currents. In our next section, we'll explore the vibrant underwater cities of coral reefs, where color, diversity, and intricate relationships create one of our planet's most spectacular ecosystems. As we bid farewell to our sea turtle guide continuing its ancient migratory journey, the ocean currents gently shift, carrying us toward one of the most extraordinary environments on our planet. Ahead, the endless blue begins to transform. Faint shadows appear in the distance, the monotone seascape gradually giving way to an eruption of color and form that seems almost impossible after the oceanic vastness we've traversed. We are approaching a coral reef, one of Earth's most magnificent living structures and a testament to the creative power of collaboration between countless tiny organisms. What appears before us isn't simply a colorful undersea landscape, it is, in fact, the largest biological structure on our planet. The Great Barrier Reef off Australia's coast, for example, stretches over 1,400 miles, visible even from space. Yet what makes these structures truly remarkable isn't just their size, but the fact that they are created entirely by living organisms working in concert over timescales that humble human achievement. Coral reefs begin with almost inconceivably small beginnings. Tiny coral polyps, relatives of sea anemones and jellyfish, each no bigger than a grain of rice, extract calcium from seawater to build protective limestone skeletons around their soft bodies. These minuscule architects work collectively, generation after generation, gradually constructing massive calcium carbonate frameworks that become the foundation for one of Earth's most complex and biodiverse ecosystems. These living structures grow with extraordinary patience. Most corals extend their limestone skeletons at a rate of just 1 to 2 centimeters per year. The magnificent reefs we see today represent the accumulated work of countless generations of polyps over thousands of years. Some of the larger reef systems we know have been growing continuously for 5,000 to 8,000 years, spanning much of human civilization, and the ancestors of modern corals have been building reefs for over 500 million years. As we drift closer, the intricate architecture of the reef comes into sharper focus. Massive brain corals with their characteristic wavy grooves. Delicate branching staghorns reaching toward the surface. Plate corals creating broad, flat shelves. Table corals expanding outward like underwater mushrooms. Each growth form an evolutionary adaptation to specific conditions of light, water flow, and competition for space within the reef ecosystem. The living coral itself covers just the outer few millimeters of these limestone structures, a thin film of life clinging to the accumulated skeletal remains of countless ancestors. This living layer consists of the coral polyps themselves and, crucially, the symbiotic algae that live within their tissues. These microscopic algae, called zooxanthellae, harness sunlight through photosynthesis, providing essential nutrients to their coral hosts. In exchange, the corals offer protection and access to the compounds the algae need for photosynthesis, a beautiful example of cooperation that has allowed these two very different organisms to collectively create one of Earth's most magnificent habitats. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine the extraordinary patience embedded in these structures. The slow, persistent growth across centuries and millennia. The countless tiny contributions accumulating into formations of breathtaking scale and complexity. There's a profound lesson here about the power of consistent, small actions over time, how even the most humble beginnings can, with patience and persistence, create wonders that span horizons. Against the backdrop of the coral structure itself, now notice the extraordinary diversity of life that darts, floats, and weaves through this underwater city. The fish of the coral reef represent some of evolution's most creative expressions, a riot of colors, patterns, and forms that seem almost deliberately designed to astonish. Clownfish navigate through the swaying tentacles of their host anemones, their bright orange bodies accented with distinctive white stripes. Their special mucus coating protects them from the anemone's stinging cells that would paralyze most other fish. Watch how they dance among the tentacles, completely at home in what would be deadly territory for most other sea creatures. Young clownfish even perform a special ritualistic dance with their host anemone, gradually acclimating to its touch before taking up permanent residence. Butterfly fish patrol the reef with their distinctive disc-shaped bodies and long, narrow snouts perfect for extracting tiny organisms from crevices in the coral. Their extraordinary patterns, often featuring eye spots, stripes, or dramatic color contrasts, serve multiple purposes, from confusing predators to helping mates recognize each other in the visual complexity of the reef environment. Some species form lifelong pair bonds, swimming side by side for decades through their underwater territory. Parrotfish move methodically across the reef, their fused teeth forming a powerful beak-like structure that gives them their name. Listen closely and you might even hear the distinctive crunching sound as they scrape algae from the coral surface. In consuming this algae, they perform a critical service to the reef, preventing algal overgrowth that might otherwise smother the living coral. Their bodies display some of the most vibrant blues, greens, and pinks in the ocean, colors that shift dramatically as they mature, with many species changing from female to male in the later stages of their lives. The reef's diversity extends far beyond these few examples. Anglerfish lie motionless, their specialized dorsal spines acting as fishing lures to attract prey. Moray eels peer from crevices, their serpentine bodies hidden within the reef framework. Tiny gobies establish cleaning stations where larger fish come to have parasites removed from their scales and gills. Surgeonfish patrol in schools, their bodies equipped with razor-sharp spines that fold flat against their sides until needed for defense. Each species occupies its own specialized niche within the reef ecosystem, some feeding on coral, others on algae, still others preying on smaller fish or invertebrates. Some are active during the day, others exclusively at night. Some never venture far from a specific coral head, while others patrol large territories. Together, they form an intricate web of relationships, dependencies, and interactions that makes a healthy coral reef one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. As you continue to float weightlessly above this underwater spectacle, allow yourself to be enveloped by the sheer visual abundance of the reef. The way sunlight filters through the clear water, illuminating scales that shimmer with iridescent blues and greens. The hypnotic movement of schools changing direction in perfect unison like a single organism. The patient stillness of ambush predators contrasted with the perpetual motion of plankton feeders. There's a harmony in this visual symphony, a balance that has been refined through millions of years of coevolution. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of coral reef ecosystems is not just their diversity, but the extraordinary web of relationships that connect different species. On the reef, very few organisms exist in isolation. Most are engaged in complex relationships of mutual benefit, creating a tapestry of interdependence that enables the ecosystem's remarkable productivity. The foundation of the entire reef ecosystem is itself a symbiotic relationship, the partnership between coral polyps and their resident algae. This ancient alliance between animal and plant has created the very substrate that makes all other reef life possible. The coral provides protection and compounds needed for photosynthesis. The algae provide the coral with oxygen and nutrients derived from sunlight. Neither could create these massive structures alone. Together, they've built ocean habitats that have persisted for hundreds of millions of years. Watch now as a cleaner wrasse sets up its cleaning station on a prominent coral head. This tiny fish, often no more than a few inches long, advertises its services with distinctive swimming patterns. Soon, much larger fish, some that would typically prey on fish the size of the wrasse, approach and assume characteristic poses, opening their mouths and gills. The wrasse fearlessly swims into these potential death traps, removing parasites and dead tissue from its clients. The larger fish receive health benefits from this cleaning, while the wrasse gains a steady source of nutrition. Nearby, see how certain small shrimp have established similar cleaning relationships with larger fish. Some even specialize in dental cleaning, darting into the mouths of predators to remove food particles from between their teeth. The boundaries between species blur in these arrangements, different organisms functioning almost as extensions of each other, providing services that benefit both parties. Look more closely at the clownfish we observed earlier. Their relationship with anemones is a classic example of mutualism. The anemone provides protection from predators with its stinging tentacles. The clownfish, in turn, defends the anemone from its specialized predators, removes parasites, and may even provide nutrients through its waste products. Some species of clownfish cannot survive without their host anemones, and some anemones struggle without their clownfish partners, a dependency refined through millions of years of coevolution. Even the seemingly solid coral itself hosts a multitude of symbiotic relationships beyond its primary partnership with zooxanthellae. Certain crabs make homes in specific coral species, defending them from predatory starfish. Some shrimp act as living defense systems, protecting their coral hosts from encroaching algae or hostile neighbors. Particular fish species specialize in consuming parasites that might otherwise damage coral tissues. This web of relationships extends throughout the reef ecosystem. Goatfish use their barbels to disturb sand, allowing wrasses to feed on exposed organisms, while the goatfish benefit from the wrasses' keen eyesight in spotting predators. Sea urchins create protective spaces for juvenile fish among their spines. Certain species of damselfish actually farm algae, tending specific patches on the reef and aggressively defending their crops from other herbivores. As you continue to drift peacefully above this interwoven community, consider the wisdom embedded in these ancient partnerships. For millions of years, reef species have been refining these relationships of mutual benefit, discovering that cooperation often yields greater evolutionary advantages than competition alone. The extraordinary productivity and biodiversity of coral reefs emerge not just from the actions of individual species, but from the synergies that develop when organisms work together. There's a profound lesson here for our own human communities, a reminder that our greatest achievements and most resilient systems often emerge not from isolated individual efforts but from collaborative relationships where different strengths and capabilities complement each other. Just as the reef's diversity becomes its greatest strength, perhaps our human differences might be seen not as divisions but as potential synergies waiting to be realized. Let's pause now to observe more closely one of the reef's most distinctive inhabitants, the sea anemone. These remarkable creatures, related to both corals and jellyfish, resemble vibrant underwater flowers with their circular arrangement of tentacles surrounding a central mouth. Their deceptively plant-like appearance belies both their animal nature and their surprising complexity. Sea anemones remain primarily in one location, attaching themselves to rocks or coral with a muscular foot, yet they are technically mobile, capable of slow movement when conditions require it. Their bodies are relatively simple, consisting of a hollow cylinder topped with tentacles equipped with specialized stinging cells called nematocysts. These microscopic harpoons can inject toxin into prey or potential threats, paralyzing small fish and crustaceans that drift too close. The anemone's tentacles create a living net in the water column, passively catching plankton and small fish that blunder into their reach. When prey touches a tentacle, specialized cells fire microscopic harpoons that inject paralyzing toxins. The tentacles then contract, drawing the immobilized prey into the anemone's central mouth. After digestion in its simple gut cavity, waste is expelled through the same opening, a reminder of the ancient evolutionary origins of these creatures. What makes anemones particularly fascinating is their role as hosts for other species. Beyond the famous partnership with clownfish, anemones provide microhabitats for a variety of crabs, shrimp, and small fish species that have evolved immunity to their stinging cells. These relationships create islands of safety within the competitive reef environment, protected spaces where vulnerable species can find refuge from predators. The anemone's form exemplifies an elegant solution to the challenges of sessile, stationary life. Without the ability to chase prey or flee from predators, they've evolved a passive but highly effective strategy, creating a deadly perimeter of stinging tentacles that both captures food and deters threats. Their basic body plan has proven so successful that it has persisted with relatively little change for over 500 million years. As you visualize these living flowers of the reef, notice the gentle pulsing movement of their tentacles in the current, the way light plays through their translucent tissues, the occasional flash of color from a resident clownfish or shrimp moving among the swaying fronds. There's a hypnotic quality to these movements, a slow, rhythmic dance that has continued uninterrupted since before the dinosaurs walked the earth. As our exploration of the reef's daylight inhabitants begins to draw to a close, I invite you to fully immerse yourself in the experience of floating above this underwater paradise. Imagine yourself suspended weightlessly a few feet above the coral structures, the water perfectly clear around you, the gentle current doing all the work of carrying you along at the perfect pace for observation. The scene below resembles an otherworldly garden, but one where the plants or animals and the flowers move of their own accord. The hard corals create the structural foundation, some massive and boulder-like, others delicately branched like underwater trees, still others forming intricate plates and tables that catch the maximum amount of sunlight for their symbiotic algae. Soft corals add another dimension of movement and texture, their flexible bodies swaying with the water's motion, tentacles extended to filter microscopic food from the passing current. Their colors span from subtle pastel pinks and yellows to vibrant purples and reds, creating a living tapestry against the background of harder coral structures. Fish move through this three-dimensional landscape in all directions, some in loosely organized schools, others in mated pairs, still others solitary hunters patrolling their territories. Their movements create constantly shifting patterns of color, like living brushstrokes against the reef's more stable canvas. The quality of light in this underwater realm has a magical quality. Sunbeams penetrate the surface above, creating shifting patterns on the reef as waves pass overhead. These moving light beams illuminate different parts of the reef momentarily, highlighting the electric blue of a damselfish here, the neon orange of antheas there, before moving on to reveal new wonders elsewhere. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breathing synchronizing with the pulsing movements of the anemones and soft corals. The expansion and contraction of your lungs mirroring the natural rhythms of the reef organisms. With each breath, allow yourself to relax more deeply into this floating state. Your body completely supported by the surrounding water. Your mind absorbed in the extraordinary beauty and complexity of this ancient ecosystem. There's a timeless quality to the reef, a sense that you're witnessing not just a place but a process that has been unfolding continuously for millions of years. Individual corals may live for centuries, passing through human generations like landmarks of living history. The reef itself, as a structural entity, may persist for millennia, a living monument built by some of Earth's smallest architects. As you continue to drift peacefully above this vibrant underwater community, carry with you an appreciation for the extraordinary balance that makes this ecosystem possible. The delicate interplay of competition and cooperation. The specialized niches that allow such diversity to coexist in a relatively small area. The countless symbiotic relationships that create strength through interdependence rather than isolation. And as we prepare to transition to our exploration of the reef's transformation after sunset, the remarkable shift that occurs as day creatures seek shelter and night specialists emerge, maintain this state of calm, floating observation. The reef has been changing from day to night and back again for countless millennia. We're privileged to witness a single cycle of this eternal rhythm. Feel yourself continuing to float peacefully in the gentle embrace of the ocean water. Your breath slow and deep. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to discover the mysterious nightlife of the coral reef in our next section. If you're still awake and listening, consider what aspect of the reef's daylight rhythm most captures your imagination, the symbiotic relationships, the extraordinary diversity of fish species, or perhaps the patient growth of the coral structure itself over centuries. In our next section, we'll witness the remarkable transformation that occurs as the sun sets over the reef, revealing an entirely different community of creatures that emerge from hiding when darkness falls over this underwater paradise. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon above our coral paradise, a subtle but profound transformation begins to unfold beneath the waves. The quality of light changes first. The bright, direct beams that pierce the surface throughout the day now shift to softer, more diffuse golden hues that cast longer shadows across the reef landscape. This changing light triggers one of nature's most remarkable daily migrations, the transition between day and night communities on the coral reef. Let us remain floating peacefully above the reef as this ancient choreography of exits and entrances begins to play out below us. The reef's transformation begins almost imperceptibly at first. A slight shift in the behavior of certain fish. A gradual withdrawal of some species to protective crevices. The emergence of others from daytime hiding places. This is not a sudden change but a carefully orchestrated transition that unfolds over the precious twilight hour when light levels gradually diminish. The bright, colorful reef fish that have entertained us throughout the day begin seeking shelter for the night. Parrotfish, which have been busily scraping algae from coral surfaces, now retreat to protected spaces in the reef structure. Some species secrete a remarkable mucus cocoon around themselves, a transparent bubble that masks their scent from nocturnal predators and may provide protection from parasites. Imagine falling asleep each night within a protective bubble of your own making, only to dissolve it upon awakening. Butterfly fish, with their distinctive disc-shaped bodies and beautiful patterns, seek shelter in reef crevices, their bright colors fading slightly as they enter a restful state. These diurnal species rely heavily on their excellent vision to find food and avoid predators, abilities that become compromised in the low light of night. Rather than risk navigating the reef when their primary sensory system is disadvantaged, they retreat to safety until dawn returns. Damselfish, those tiny but fiercely territorial reef dwellers, settle into specific protected locations they've claimed as sleeping sites. Throughout the day, they've aggressively defended their small patches of reef from all intruders, sometimes even charging at fish many times their size. Now, as light fades, they withdraw to the same small crevices they've used night after night, some species changing their coloration to more muted tones that provide better camouflage during their vulnerable sleeping hours. As these diurnal species withdraw, the first of the nocturnal specialists begin to appear. Sweeper fish emerge from caves where they've spent the daylight hours, their large eyes specially adapted for low light conditions. Cardinalfish drift out from their daytime hiding places, their red coloration appearing black in the diminishing light, effectively camouflaging them from predators. Squirrelfish and soldierfish, with their characteristic large eyes and reddish coloration, move from deep crevices into more open water, prepared for a night of hunting. This changing of the guard happens each evening and reverses each morning, a daily migration that has occurred without interruption for millions of years. The timing shifts slightly with the seasons, but the basic pattern remains constant, a beautiful example of how species have evolved to partition not just physical space but also time itself, allowing the reef to support even greater biodiversity by having essentially two different communities occupying the same habitat at different hours. As twilight deepens into night, notice how the overall mood of the reef shifts. The frenetic energy of the day reef, with its constant motion and social interactions, gives way to a different rhythm, slower, more methodical, with greater emphasis on stealth and ambush rather than speed and display. The reef hasn't become less active, but the nature of that activity has fundamentally changed as a new cast of characters takes center stage. As darkness settles more completely over the reef, one of nature's most magical phenomena becomes visible, the living light of the coral ecosystem. This light takes two distinct forms, each with its own evolutionary purpose and biochemical mechanism. True bioluminescence occurs when organisms produce their own light through internal chemical reactions. This light-producing ability has evolved independently in numerous marine lineages, from bacteria to fish. On the reef, bioluminescent organisms use their living light for communication, attracting prey, confusing predators, or finding mates in the darkness. Tiny ostracods, sometimes called sea fireflies, release clouds of bioluminescent chemicals into the water as part of their mating displays. These minuscule crustaceans, each smaller than a grain of rice, create one of the ocean's most enchanting light shows as males release patterns of blue luminescence to attract females. From our vantage point above the reef, these displays appear as gentle pulses of ghostly blue light, briefly illuminating small patches of the reef before fading back into darkness. Certain species of squid that hunt around the reef periphery produce bioluminescence from specialized organs called photophores. Some use this ability to create counterillumination, producing light on their undersides that matches the faint moonlight filtering from above, effectively erasing their silhouettes from predators looking up from below. Others use brief flashes of light to startle potential prey or confuse attackers, creating moments of disorientation they can use to escape or attack. Even more prevalent on the reef is the phenomenon of biofluorescence, the ability of certain organisms to absorb one wavelength of light and emit it at a different wavelength. Unlike bioluminescence, which creates light from internal chemical energy, fluorescence requires an external light source. Even in the apparent darkness of night, moonlight and starlight provide enough illumination for the reef's fluorescent organisms to create their ethereal glow. Many coral species fluoresce brilliantly when illuminated with the right wavelengths of light. Under moonlight, these corals transform from their daytime appearance, revealing hidden patterns of green, red, and orange fluorescence. Scientists are still discovering the purposes of this remarkable ability. It may help corals photosynthesize in low light conditions, provide protection from damaging solar radiation, or serve as a communication mechanism between coral polyps. Certain anemones similarly display striking fluorescence in the darkness, their tentacles glowing with otherworldly hues. This creates a beautiful but potentially deadly attraction for nocturnal creatures that might be drawn to the ghostly light, only to become ensnared in the anemone's stinging tentacles. Even some reef fish possess fluorescent abilities. The aptly named neon goby produces a striking blue stripe that fluoresces brilliantly in low light, perhaps helping members of the species locate each other for their nocturnal activities. Certain wrasses and scorpionfish have fluorescent patterns that may serve as camouflage, help them recognize members of their own species, or play roles in their mating rituals. As you continue to float peacefully above the reef, now illuminated primarily by moonlight filtering through the water, imagine the subtle magic of these bioluminescent and fluorescent displays. Gentle pulses of blue light from tiny organisms. The soft glow of fluorescent coral polyps. Brief flashes from hunting predators. The reef has become an underwater constellation of living lights, each with its own purpose and pattern, creating a nocturnal lightscape of remarkable beauty and complexity. With the dramatic shift in lighting comes an equally dramatic change in hunting strategies on the reef. The visual hunters of daylight hours have largely withdrawn, replaced by specialists who rely on other senses and different tactical approaches to find their prey in the darkness. One of the most distinctive nocturnal predators now emerging is the moray eel. During daylight, these serpentine hunters remain mostly hidden in crevices, with perhaps only their heads visible as they sway gently with the current. Now, they emerge fully, their elongated bodies undulating gracefully as they patrol the reef. Morays hunt primarily through their acute sense of smell rather than vision. Their small eyes provide limited information in the darkness, but their nostrils, set in a prominent snout, detect dissolved chemical signals that lead them to prey. Watch as a moray investigates the reef, its body contorting to fit into narrow spaces between coral heads. Its mouth opening and closing in a seemingly threatening display that actually helps it pump water across its sensitive olfactory organs, essentially tasting the water for traces of potential prey. When it detects a hidden fish or crustacean, the moray can strike with surprising speed, its powerful jaws lined with sharp teeth designed to prevent escape once a target is caught. Another specialized night hunter now makes an appearance, the lionfish, with its distinctive red and white striped pattern and elaborate array of venomous spines. During the day, lionfish often hover motionless above the reef, their dramatic appearance serving as a warning to potential predators. At night, they become active hunters, using their large pectoral fins to corner small fish against coral heads or to flush hidden prey from crevices. The lionfish employs a fascinating hunting strategy, using its large fan-like pectoral fins to herd smaller fish into a position where they can be swallowed in a single rapid strike. These beautiful but deadly predators move with deliberate grace, their elongated fin rays creating the impression of a much larger creature as they methodically search the reef for prey. From sandy areas adjacent to the reef, flatfishes emerge, masters of camouflage with both eyes located on the same side of their oddly asymmetrical bodies. During daylight hours, these remarkable fish bury themselves in the sand with only their eyes exposed, virtually invisible to both prey and predators. Now they emerge to hunt, gliding across the sandy bottom with undulating motions, their excellent night vision allowing them to detect small crustaceans and fish that would be safe from them during daylight hours. Perhaps most impressive are the nocturnal sharks that patrol the reef periphery. Smaller reef sharks, such as the white-tip reef shark, become much more active after sunset. Unlike the day's visual hunters, these predators rely heavily on specialized sensory organs to detect prey in darkness. Their lateral line system perceives minute water movements from fish swimming nearby, while specialized electroreceptors called ampullae of Lorenzini can detect the faint electrical fields generated by a prey animal's muscle contractions, essentially allowing the shark to feel the presence of hidden prey. Watch from our peaceful vantage point as a white-tip reef shark patrols the reef edge with slow, deliberate movements. Its streamlined body the product of over 400 million years of evolutionary refinement. Its hunting strategy not one of speed and pursuit but of methodical searching and ambush. When it detects prey hidden within the reef structure, it can display remarkable dexterity, contorting its body to extract concealed fish from their hiding places. As you observe these nocturnal hunters, Note the different energy of their movements compared to daytime predators. There's a deliberate quality, a patience, and emphasis on stealth rather than speed. The night hunters conserve energy, moving with precision rather than power, using specialized senses rather than visual acuity to locate their prey in the darkness. While many creatures become more active at night, others enter states of rest, though not always in ways that resemble our human concept of sleep. The reef itself undergoes rhythmic cycles of activity and rest, with many organisms showing clear circadian patterns in their behavior and physiology. Most hard corals, the primary reef builders, actually become more active at night. During daylight hours, their tiny polyps remain mostly retracted within their limestone skeletons. After darkness falls, they emerge, extending their tentacles into the water column to feed on passing plankton. This nocturnal feeding strategy allows them to avoid competition with diurnal plankton feeders and reduces their risk from certain visual predators. From our vantage point above the reef, we can now observe this remarkable transformation. The seemingly solid coral surface has come alive with countless tiny, flower-like polyps waving gently in the current. Under the moonlight, this creates a magical effect, as though the entire reef structure has awakened and is quietly breathing. This rhythmic extension and retraction of coral polyps creates a gentle pulsing across the reef, a living heartbeat that has continued without interruption for thousands of years. Many reef fish display fascinating sleep behaviors that differ significantly from our own experience of sleep. Some smaller species seek shelter in specific sleeping sites they return to night after night, a particular coral crevice or the protection of an anemone's tentacles. The same fish may use the same sleeping spot for its entire life, creating a predictable pattern that provides maximum safety during their vulnerable resting period. Some species of parrotfish, as mentioned earlier, secrete a remarkable mucus cocoon that envelopes their entire body, a transparent sleeping bag that masks their scent from nocturnal predators while allowing them to maintain a restful state until morning. The creation of this protective envelope requires considerable energy investment, highlighting how critical safe rest is to survival on the reef. Other fish enter states of torpor while remaining somewhat alert to their surroundings, a lighter form of sleep that allows them to respond quickly to potential threats. These fish often display color changes during their resting state, with bright daytime colors fading to more cryptic patterns that provide better camouflage during their vulnerable sleeping hours. Even in this state of relative rest, the reef is never truly silent or still. The gentle current continues its eternal motion. Nocturnal feeders move methodically through the landscape. Polyps sway in the moonlight. The reef breathes with the combined respiration of countless organisms. There's a measured, peaceful quality to this nighttime rhythm, neither the frenetic energy of daytime nor complete stillness, but a different cadence of life that has evolved to utilize the full 24-hour cycle. As our exploration of the reef's nocturnal transformation deepens, I invite you to fully immerse yourself in the experience of floating above this underwater world, bathed now in the soft silver light of the moon. The water around you has taken on a different quality in the darkness, deeper blues fading to almost black in the distance, with the reef structure below now primarily illuminated by moonlight filtering through the surface above. Feel the slight drop in water temperature that often accompanies nightfall in tropical waters. The day's accumulated heat slowly dissipating into the vast thermal sink of the ocean. This gentle cooling creating subtle currents as warmer water rises and cooler water descends, a quiet breathing of the ocean itself that rocks you gently as you float. The sounds of the reef have transformed as well. During daylight hours, the predominant sounds were the clicking and popping of pistol shrimp and the scraping of parrotfish teeth against coral. Now, different acoustic signatures emerge, the soft swish of hunting eels moving through crevices, the occasional snap of a nocturnal predator catching prey. The subtle background crackling that continues regardless of the hour as countless tiny organisms go about their lives within the reef structure. Notice how the patterns of movement below have shifted. The frenetic darting of daytime reef fish has been replaced by the more measured, deliberate movements of nocturnal specialists. The hurried pace of daylight hours giving way to a slower, more methodical rhythm as hunters stalk and prey seek safety in the reduced visibility of night. The moonlight creates an enchanting play of light and shadow across the reef landscape. Soft silver beams penetrating the water's surface create dapple patterns that shift with the gentle surface waves. These moving lights illuminate patches of coral momentarily before sliding away to highlight different areas, a natural spotlight that continuously recomposes the underwater scene. As you continue to float peacefully in this nighttime seascape, allow your breathing to synchronize with the gentle swaying of coral polyps in the current. The slow, rhythmic extension and retraction of their tentacles like a collective breathing of the reef itself. With each breath, feel your body becoming heavier and more relaxed, any remaining tension dissolving into the surrounding water. There's a profound tranquility in witnessing this ancient rhythm of day turning to night on the coral reef, a cycle that has continued uninterrupted for millions of years. The reef doesn't resist the darkness but embraces it, with a completely different but equally vibrant community emerging to utilize the nocturnal hours. This adaptation to the planet's natural rhythm of light and dark represents one of the most beautiful aspects of coral reef ecosystems, their capacity to thrive within natural cycles rather than fighting against them. As we prepare to transition to our next oceanic exploration, the ethereal world of jellyfish, carry with you the reef's lesson of embracing life's natural rhythms. The reef doesn't resist the night but has evolved to thrive within its different conditions, with species specializing in either day or night creating greater biodiversity than either could achieve alone. Feel yourself continuing to float peacefully in the gentle embrace of the moonlit water. Your breath slow and deep like the rhythmic swaying of coral polyps. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to discover the mesmerizing beauty of ocean jellyfish in our next section. If you're still awake and listening, consider what aspect of the reef's nocturnal transformation you find most captivating, the emergence of bioluminescence and fluorescence, the different hunting strategies of nocturnal predators, or perhaps the collective resting patterns of reef organisms. In our next section, we'll drift away from the reef to explore the hypnotic world of jellyfish, creatures composed almost entirely of water whose pulsing movements have remained virtually unchanged for over 650 million years. As we drift away from the moonlit coral reef, the ocean current gently carries us into deeper, more open waters. The structured complexity of the reef gradually fades behind us, giving way to a more expansive environment of blue depths. Here, in this seemingly empty space, we encounter some of the ocean's most ancient and otherworldly inhabitants, jellyfish. These ethereal beings, drifting through the sea for over 650 million years, embody a different kind of marine existence, one of sublime simplicity, hypnotic movement, and almost supernatural adaptation to life as creatures composed almost entirely of water itself. As our eyes adjust to this new oceanic environment, the first jellyfish appears before us. A translucent bell pulsing slowly through the water column. Its body is so clear that sunlight passes through it almost completely, creating subtle rainbow refractions at its edges. What we're observing is one of Earth's most remarkable evolutionary achievements, a successful multicellular organism composed of approximately 95% water. This extraordinary composition gives jellyfish their ghostly, ethereal quality. Unlike most creatures whose bodies appear solid and opaque, jellyfish exist in a state between solid and liquid, their tissues only slightly more dense than the seawater surrounding them. This remarkable similarity to their environment allows them to expend minimal energy maintaining their position in the water column, as they are nearly neutrally buoyant, neither sinking nor floating unless they actively pulse their bells. What makes jellyfish particularly fascinating is not just their watery composition but the remarkable simplicity of their body structure. Despite being multicellular animals, they lack many features we typically associate with animal life. They have no brain, no centralized nervous system, no heart, no respiratory system, and no specialized digestive organs. Instead, they operate with a radially symmetrical body plan and a simple nerve net that allows them to respond to environmental stimuli without centralized processing. Their body typically consists of just two main parts, the bell or umbrella-shaped main body and the tentacles that extend from it. The bell contains a simple stomach-like structure called the gastrovascular cavity, while the margin of the bell houses a basic nerve ring that coordinates the creature's pulsing movements. This extraordinarily simple design has nonetheless proven remarkably successful, allowing jellyfish to thrive in virtually every ocean ecosystem from surface waters to extreme depths and from tropical to polar regions. Most remarkable of all is how jellyfish accomplish so much with so little. Without a brain, they navigate vertical migrations through the water column. Without specialized sensory organs like our eyes or ears, many species can detect light, recognize orientation, and respond to chemical signals in the water. Without a circulatory system, they distribute nutrients through their bodies via the simple diffusion of materials through their thin tissues. The efficiency of this minimalist design is a testament to the power of evolutionary refinement over hundreds of millions of years. As you continue to relax more deeply, consider the profound lesson in the jellyfish's simplicity. In a world that often values complexity and elaboration, these ancient creatures remind us of the power of reduction to essentials. Of solving life's challenges not by adding more components but by refining the fundamental design to its most efficient form. There's a certain wisdom in this approach, a reminder that sometimes the most elegant solutions are also the simplest. Now focus your attention on the most mesmerizing aspect of these extraordinary creatures, their rhythmic, pulsing movement through the water. Unlike fish that use muscular contractions to propel themselves forward, jellyfish employ a different strategy entirely, one that creates perhaps the most hypnotic locomotion in the natural world. The jellyfish's movement begins with a gentle contraction of its bell. This motion, controlled by a simple ring of nerve cells, causes the bell to collapse slightly inward, expelling water from underneath and creating a small jet of propulsion. Then, as the bell relaxes and reopens, water refills the space, and the cycle begins again. This alternating contraction and relaxation creates the characteristic pulsing movement that gives jellyfish their mesmerizing quality. What's remarkable about this method of movement is its efficiency. Though jellyfish appear to move slowly from our perspective, their pulsing locomotion actually uses less energy per distance traveled than virtually any other form of animal movement. They've evolved to work with water rather than against it, using the principles of jet propulsion and fluid dynamics in a manner that requires minimal energy expenditure. The rhythm of these pulsations often follows a pattern reminiscent of breathing or heartbeats, a slow, steady cadence that has remained essentially unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Some species pulse quickly, with contractions occurring every second or two, while others move with extreme slowness, their bells opening and closing in a languid rhythm that might span 20 or 30 seconds per cycle. As you observe the hypnotic pulsing of the jellyfish before you, allow your own breathing to gradually synchronize with its rhythm. Notice how your chest rises and falls in a pattern not unlike the jellyfish's bell. How your heartbeat maintains a similar steady cadence. These fundamental biological rhythms connect us to these ancient creatures despite our vast evolutionary distance, the basic pulsation of life that moves through all living things. There's something deeply calming about witnessing this primal movement pattern, perhaps because it resonates with our own internal rhythms, or perhaps because it represents one of life's most fundamental expressions. The pulsing jellyfish embodies pure being, existing without striving, moving without hurrying, living without the complexity of thought or emotion that so often complicates our human experience. Allow yourself to be hypnotized by this gentle, rhythmic movement. Feel any remaining tension in your body dissolving with each pulse of the jellyfish's bell. Your breathing becoming slower and deeper. Your mind growing quieter as it attunes to this simple, ancient rhythm that has continued uninterrupted in Earth's oceans since before the dinosaurs walked on land. As we continue our drift through these open waters, more jellyfish begin to appear around us, not just one species, but many, each with its own distinctive shape, size, and pattern. Though all share the basic bell and tentacle body plan, nature has created extraordinary variations on this theme, resulting in one of the ocean's most diverse and visually striking groups of organisms. The moon jellyfish floats nearby, its translucent bell is round and flat as a dinner plate, marked with 4 distinctive horseshoe-shaped gonads visible through its transparent tissues. Its tentacles are short and delicate, fringing the bell's edge like fine lace. This species epitomizes ethereal beauty, so transparent that it appears more like living glass than an animal, capturing and refracting light in subtle rainbow patterns as it moves through the water. In contrast, the lion's mane jellyfish presents a more dramatic appearance, with a bell that can grow to over 8 feet in diameter and tentacles that may extend more than 100 feet, making it one of the longest animals on Earth. Its reddish-orange coloration and massive trailing tentacles create an impression of majestic, flowing movement as it pulses through colder northern waters. A fully grown lion's mane resembles an underwater solar flare, its thousands of tentacles creating a living cascade that flows behind the central bell. The elegant sea nettle appears as a living bell at amber or pale blue, its long, ribbon-like oral arms extending from the center of its bell, surrounded by even longer, thread-like tentacles that may stretch several feet behind it. Their deliberate pulsations create undulating waves through these trailing appendages, resembling an underwater dancer whose gossamer costume flows with each movement. Perhaps most striking of all is the crystal jellyfish, so perfectly transparent that it nearly disappears in the water, detectable mainly by the subtle blue-green bioluminescent light its rim can produce. This living ghost seems to exist on the boundary between matter and energy, between being and non-being, a creature so delicate and clear that it challenges our very conception of what constitutes a living animal. At the other extreme of size, tiny thimble jellyfish may be no larger than your fingernail, while certain deep-sea species have bells smaller than a grain of rice. Yet despite their diminutive size, these miniature jellies maintain the same hypnotic pulsing movement and basic body plan as their larger relatives, a testament to the scalability of their simple but effective design. Some species have evolved extraordinary modifications to the basic jellyfish form. The Portuguese man-of-war, though technically a colonial organism rather than a true jellyfish, creates a floating sail that harnesses the wind for movement across the ocean surface. The upside-down jellyfish rests its bell on the seafloor, tentacles waving upward, having evolved a symbiotic relationship with algae similar to that of corals. The flower hat jellyfish develops colorful, crown-like projections around its bell that give it the appearance of an underwater blossom. As you float among this diverse gathering of jellies, allow yourself to appreciate the creative variations nature has developed on a fundamentally simple theme. How evolution has sculpted these watery bodies into countless forms while maintaining their essential simplicity. There's a profound artistic lesson in this diversity, how unlimited expression can emerge from limited elements when shaped by time, environment, and natural processes. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of jellyfish is that they accomplish their complex life functions without what we consider the essential control center of advanced animal life, a brain. This absence of centralized neural processing offers a profound counterpoint to our human tendency to equate intelligence and capability with neural complexity. Instead of a brain, jellyfish operate using a neural net, a simple network of nerve cells distributed throughout their bodies, with slightly higher concentrations forming nerve rings around the bell margin. This decentralized approach to nervous system organization allows jellyfish to sense and respond to their environment without requiring the energy-intensive development and maintenance of a complex central nervous system. Despite this apparent simplicity, jellyfish display surprisingly sophisticated behaviors. Many species undertake daily vertical migrations, rising toward the surface at night to feed and sinking to deeper waters during daylight hours to avoid predators. Some can detect and respond to injury by repairing damaged tissues. Others demonstrate complex reproductive strategies that involve multiple body forms and life stages. Certain box jellyfish species have evolved clusters of eyes, some surprisingly sophisticated with lenses, corneas, and retinas, despite having no brain to process the visual information. Instead, their nerve rings integrate this sensory data directly into movement responses, allowing them to navigate and hunt with remarkable precision despite their lack of centralized processing. This brainless existence offers a fascinating philosophical contemplation. Is consciousness necessarily tied to centralized neural activity? Or might there be other forms of awareness, fundamentally different from our own, distributed throughout simpler nervous systems? The jellyfish, operating with neural networks rather than centralized processing, represents an entirely different approach to existence, one that has successfully sustained these creatures for over 500 million years. As you continue to float peacefully among these ancient beings, consider the profound simplicity of their existence. No thoughts creating inner narratives or worries. No complex emotions generating stress or anxiety. Just pure, present moment being, responding to the environment through direct sensory connection rather than conceptual processing. There's a certain enviable quality to this mode of existence, a direct engagement with life unburdened by the complexities of self-reflection. This isn't to romanticize the jellyfish's existence or suggest their simplicity is superior to our complexity. Each represents a different evolutionary strategy with its own advantages. But in our human world, often overwhelmed by information, stimulation, and mental activity, there's a valuable reminder in the jellyfish's brainless wisdom that sometimes the path to peace might involve quieting the constant chatter of our thoughts rather than adding more mental complexity. As our exploration of these extraordinary beings continues, I invite you to fully immerse yourself in a visualization of drifting among a gathering of moon jellyfish in clear, blue water. Imagine yourself floating effortlessly at a depth of about 15 feet below the surface. The water around you is perfectly clear and comfortably cool against your skin. Soft beams of sunlight penetrate from above, creating gentle rays that illuminate the translucent bodies of the jellyfish all around you. Each jellyfish pulses with hypnotic rhythm, their circular bells contracting and expanding in a slow, deliberate cadence. Their movements appear almost choreographed, though each individual follows its own timing, creating a living symphony of pulsation all around you. The sunlight plays through their transparent tissues, casting subtle, shifting patterns of light and shadow on the blue water below. Focus on a single jellyfish directly before you. Notice the perfect symmetry of its circular form. The delicate fringe of short tentacles surrounding its bell. The four horseshoe-shaped gonads visible through its transparent bell like a natural design etched in living glass. Watch closely as it pulses. The gentle contraction of the bell forcing water downward, creating propulsion. The relaxation phase as the bell returns to its open position, drawing in new water. Each pulse carrying it slightly upward through the water column. As you observe this hypnotic movement, allow your breathing to synchronize with the jellyfish's rhythm. inhaling slowly as its bell expands, exhaling gently as it contracts, creating a meditative connection between your body's rhythm and the ancient pulsation of this primordial creature. With each breath cycle, feel yourself relaxing more deeply, your body becoming heavier, your mind growing quieter and more receptive to the simple beauty surrounding you. The jellyfish have no destination, no goals, no plans for the future or regrets about the past. They exist fully in the eternal present, responding to the flow of water and light around them with direct, immediate awareness. As you float among them, allow yourself to enter a similar state of pure presence, letting go of thoughts about what came before or what might come after. Simply being here and now in this underwater meditation. Notice how light plays through the jellyfish bodies, creating subtle rainbow refractions where the sunbeams strike their translucent tissues. How their tentacles drift and sway with the gentle current, creating patterns of movement like underwater calligraphy. How their pulsing creates tiny, circular currents in the surrounding water that cause nearby plankton to dance and swirl in their wake. Feel yourself becoming increasingly at one with this underwater environment. Your breathing slowing to match the languid rhythm of the jellyfish. Your heartbeat steady and calm. Your consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of your body to embrace the peaceful, pulsing existence all around you. There's a profound peace in this space of pure being, of simple existence without striving or effort. As we prepare to transition to our next exploration, the timeless flow of jellyfish through the world's oceans maintain this state of deep, floating relaxation. The jellyfish have existed in Earth's waters for over 650 million years, their basic form and movement remaining essentially unchanged while dinosaurs rose and fell, while continents shifted position, while countless species evolved and disappeared. There's a timeless quality to their existence that reminds us of the continuous flow of life on our water planet. Feel yourself continuing to float peacefully in the gentle embrace of the ocean. Your breath slow and deep like the pulsing of the jellyfish around you. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to discover the eternal flow of these remarkable creatures in our next section. If you're still awake and listening, consider which aspect of the jellyfish's existence you find most fascinating, their extraordinary simplicity, their hypnotic movement, or perhaps their brainless wisdom. In our next section, we'll explore the timeless journey of jellyfish through Earth's oceans over hundreds of millions of years, and discover what these ancient beings might teach us about surrendering to life's natural flow. As we continue our peaceful drift among the pulsing jellyfish, our perspective begins to shift. Rather than focusing solely on these ethereal beings as individual creatures, we start to perceive them as elements within the greater flow of oceanic currents, living embodiments of the water's own movement. Jellyfish exist in a unique relationship with their liquid environment, neither fully controlling their journey nor entirely passive, but rather engaged in a dance of surrender and gentle guidance that has sustained them through eons of planetary change. Let us explore this remarkable state of being, a life fully surrendered to the ocean's eternal flow. Unlike fish that swim with muscular purpose or marine mammals that navigate with intention, jellyfish primarily allow themselves to be carried by ocean currents. Their own propulsion serves mainly to adjust their vertical position in the water column, while horizontal movement comes largely from surrendering to the ocean's flow. This represents a fundamentally different relationship with the environment, not one of control or direction, but of acceptance and adaptation. Observe how the jellyfish before us neither fights against the current nor remains entirely passive. Its gentle pulsations allow it to rise or sink through the water column, but it doesn't struggle against the horizontal movement of the surrounding ocean. There's a profound wisdom in this approach, the recognition that certain forces are too vast to resist, and that sometimes the most effective strategy is to work within their flow rather than against it. This surrendered state doesn't mean jellyfish lack agency. Through subtle adjustments in their pulsing rhythm and timing, they can position themselves vertically to take advantage of different current systems flowing in different directions at varying depths. Some species are known to sink deeper during strong surface currents that might carry them away from favorable habitats, then rise again when conditions change. Others deliberately enter certain currents during specific life stages, using these oceanic highways to disperse their offspring across vast distances. The jellyfish's relationship with currents has been refined through hundreds of millions of years of evolution. They've learned to read the language of water movement, to sense changes in pressure, temperature, and salinity that indicate different current systems. Without brains to analyze this information conceptually, they respond through direct physical adaptation, their simple nervous systems perfectly attuned to the subtle messages carried in the surrounding water. This mode of existence offers a fascinating philosophical metaphor for our own lives. How often do we exhaust ourselves struggling against currents too powerful to overcome? How might our experience change if we learn to distinguish between situations we can direct and those we might better navigate through mindful surrender? The jellyfish, with its ancient wisdom, suggests that sometimes the path of acceptance might conserve precious energy while still allowing us to maintain our essential nature and direction. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine what it might feel like to exist in this state of flow. Not fighting against the current of your life, but neither entirely passive. Finding the balance between gentle self-direction and acceptance of larger forces. There's a profound peace in this middle path, the wisdom to know what can be changed, what must be accepted, and how to maintain your essential self within the greater flows that carry us all. The jellyfish drifting before us represents one of Earth's most enduring evolutionary success stories, creatures that have survived in essentially the same form for over 650 million years. This makes them among the oldest multicellular animals on our planet, predating even the ancient trilobites and having persisted through all 5 major mass extinction events that transformed life on Earth. To truly comprehend the depth of this time span, consider that when jellyfish first appeared in Earth's oceans, the continents were arranged in entirely different configurations. No animals yet lived on land. Plants had not yet evolved. The atmosphere contained different proportions of gases. Even the length of Earth's day was different, as the planet's rotation has gradually slowed over eons. Through all these planetary transformations, as species rose and fell, as entire animal groups dominated and then disappeared completely, the basic jellyfish form has continued to pulse through Earth's waters. They witnessed the rise and fall of the dinosaurs. They were already ancient when the first primitive mammals emerged. They had been drifting through oceans for hundreds of millions of years before the first human ancestors walked upright. This extraordinary persistence across geological time speaks to the effectiveness of their simple design. While more complex organisms often face greater challenges adapting to environmental changes, the jellyfish's minimalist body plan and adaptable physiology have allowed them to weather cataclysmic events that eliminated countless more advanced species. Their simplicity has proven to be not a limitation but a profound evolutionary advantage. Moreover, certain evidence suggests that modern jellyfish remain remarkably similar to their ancient ancestors. Fossil impressions of jellyfish from 500 million years ago show creatures that would be recognizable to us today, the same bell shape, the same trailing tentacles, likely the same pulsing locomotion. While most animal groups have undergone dramatic transformations over such time spans, jellyfish found their optimal design early and have maintained it with only minor modifications since. As we float alongside these living time travelers, allow yourself to absorb something of their ancient perspective. The way they embody deep time, having pulsed through Earth's waters while mountains rose and eroded away, while ice ages came and went, while the very layout of the continents transformed around them. There's a profound humility in recognizing the briefness of human existence compared to the long, slow journey of these simple yet enduring creatures. Perhaps there's wisdom to be found in this evolutionary longevity, a reminder that complexity isn't always advantageous, that sometimes the simpler solution proves more resilient over time. In our human pursuit of ever greater complexity, we might pause to consider the jellyfish's lesson that evolutionary success isn't measured in complexity but in persistence, in the ability to endure through change rather than resist it. One of the most fascinating aspects of jellyfish biology is their remarkable life cycle, a complex journey of transformation that belies their apparent simplicity. Unlike most animals that develop directly from juvenile to adult forms, many jellyfish species alternate between two radically different body forms, creating a circle of perpetual transformation that embodies the concept of eternal return. The graceful, pulsing Medusa form we've been observing represents just one phase of this cycle. The journey typically begins when male and female Medusas release sperm and eggs into the water column. After fertilization, a tiny larval form called a planula develops, a microscopic, ciliated organism that swims briefly before settling onto a hard surface on the ocean floor. Once attached, the planula transforms into a polyp, a small, stationary, anemone-like organism that bears little resemblance to the flowing Medusa form. These polyps may remain in place for months or even years, feeding on passing plankton by capturing them with tiny tentacles surrounding a central mouth. Some species form colonies of interconnected polyps that can persist for decades, a sedentary existence entirely unlike the drifting Medusa phase. Then, triggered by changing environmental conditions or internal biological clocks, the polyp begins one of nature's most remarkable transformations. In a process called strobilation, the polyp's body develops horizontal segments that stack one above the other like a microscopic tower of dinner plates. Each of these segments will eventually break free and become a tiny juvenile Medusa called an ephora, a living disc that will grow into the pulsing adult jellyfish form. This alternation between stationary polyp and floating Medusa creates a cycle of perpetual renewal. Each generation of Medusas eventually producing polyps, which in turn give rise to new Medusas. An endless circle of transformation that connects the ocean floor to the water column and a living demonstration of nature's capacity for metamorphosis. Some species have developed even more complex variations on this basic pattern. Certain box jellyfish have additional larval stages. Some hydrozoans alternate between multiple polyp forms before producing Medusas. The Portuguese man-of-war, though not a true jellyfish but a colonial siphonophore, creates specialized polyps that perform different functions within a connected community, some for feeding, others for defense, still others for reproduction. As you continue to float peacefully among these ancient beings, consider the profound cyclicity of their existence. How they embody the concept of eternal return, moving between forms in an endless circle of transformation. Never truly beginning or ending, but continuously cycling through states of being. There's a beautiful harmony in this pattern, a recognition that different forms have different purposes, that life flows through changes rather than resisting them. This cyclical perspective offers a counterpoint to our often linear human thinking about time and development. Rather than perceiving life as a straight path from beginning to end, the jellyfish suggests a more circular vision, one where endings become beginnings, where transformation replaces termination, where change represents not an interruption but an essential aspect of continuing existence. As we allow ourselves to drift deeper into the ocean, away from the sunlit surface waters, the nature of our jellyfish companions begins to change. The transparent moon jellies give way to different species adapted to the twilight and midnight zones of the ocean. And in this realm of perpetual darkness, one of nature's most magical phenomena becomes apparent, the living light of deep-sea jellyfish. Many deep-dwelling jellyfish species possess the remarkable ability to produce their own light through bioluminescence, a chemical reaction occurring within specialized cells that generates light without heat. This living illumination serves various purposes, from attracting prey to warning predators, from finding mates to confusing attackers. But for us observers, it creates one of the ocean's most enchanting spectacles, a living constellation of blue-green stars drifting through the darkness. The comb jelly, though technically not a true jellyfish but a member of a related group, creates perhaps the most mesmerizing light display in the ocean. Its rows of tiny, hair-like cilia refract light into rainbow patterns that ripple along its body as it moves through the water. In deeper waters where sunlight no longer penetrates, these same comb rows often produce bioluminescent displays, turning the animal into a living rainbow of cold light pulsing through the darkness. The crystal jellyfish, nearly invisible in daylight due to its perfect transparency, becomes a floating ring of blue light in the deep, its rim glowing with a cool radiance that seems almost supernatural. This bioluminescence comes from a special protein called green fluorescent protein, GFP, which has proven so useful to science that its discoverers were awarded a Nobel Prize. The crystal jelly's contribution to human knowledge extends far beyond its ethereal beauty. Its light-producing compounds now help researchers track cancer cells, study brain development, and observe countless biological processes previously invisible to science. As we drift among these living lights, more species become visible in the darkness. The helmet jellyfish with its looping patterns of blue-green light. The deep-sea medusa with glowing tentacles that mimic the bioluminescent plankton it feeds upon. The glowing bell jellyfish whose entire body pulses with gentle radiance. Together, they create an underwater night sky, a mirror to the celestial display above the surface but composed of living stars drifting in three-dimensional space. This bioluminescent display represents one of nature's most elegant solutions to the challenges of deep-sea life. In an environment where sunlight never penetrates, these creatures have learned to create their own light, not by fighting against the darkness but by transforming themselves to exist harmoniously within it. Rather than requiring external illumination, they've developed the capacity to shine from within. There's profound symbolism in this adaptation, a reminder that even in the darkest environments, life finds ways to create light. That sometimes the most appropriate response to darkness isn't to seek external illumination but to develop the capacity for inner radiance. That beauty and guidance can emerge from within even when external resources are absent. As our exploration of these extraordinary beings approaches its conclusion, I invite you to immerse yourself in a final visualization, drifting slowly through a gathering of bioluminescent jellyfish in the deep ocean. Imagine yourself floating in a space of perfect darkness. Water that feels like liquid silk against your skin. No up or down, just the embracing presence of the deep sea all around you. In this darkness, the first points of light appear. Gentle blue-green glows pulsing rhythmically in the distance. As you drift closer, these lights resolve into jellyfish, their bells rimmed with cool fire, their tentacles trailing sparks of living light into the blackness below. There are dozens of them, then hundreds, a three-dimensional constellation of living stars drifting slowly through the abyssal water. As you move among them, notice the perfect weightlessness of your body in this deep water environment. The sensation of being completely supported, entirely free from gravity's pull. Your limbs floating effortlessly, requiring no effort to maintain position. Just perfect, suspended presence in this underwater space of dreams. The jellyfish pulse around you with hypnotic rhythm, each contraction of their bells sending ripples of light flowing through their transparent tissues. Like heartbeats made visible, like thoughts transformed into light. Some pulse quickly, others with languid slowness, creating a visual symphony of bioluminescent rhythms that has no conductor yet maintains its perfect, flowing harmony. With each pulsation of light, feel your own breathing growing slower and deeper. Your heartbeat calm and steady. Your mind quieter, more receptive to the simple beauty surrounding you. There's no need for words here, no need for analysis or understanding. Just pure presence in this space of living light and ancient, flowing movement. Notice how the jellyfish create a universe in miniature around you, their drifting bodies like galaxies, their trailing tentacles like comets, the smaller planktonic organisms that sparkle in their wake like distant stars. You're floating within a living cosmos, an illuminated ocean space that mirrors the night sky above but with light born from life itself rather than distant suns. Feel yourself becoming increasingly at one with this underwater constellation. You're breathing in perfect rhythm with the pulsing of the jellyfish around you. Your consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of your body to embrace the flowing, illuminated existence all around you. There's a profound peace in this space, a deep, primordial calm that connects you to Earth's ancient waters and the simple, enduring life forms that have drifted through them for hundreds of millions of years. As we prepare to transition to our next exploration, the mysterious world of the deep ocean trenches, carry with you the jellyfish's gifts of surrender, transformation, and inner light. These ancient beings have survived Earth's greatest catastrophes not through resistance but through adaptation, not through complexity but through elegant simplicity, not by fighting darkness but by generating their own gentle radiance. Feel yourself continuing to float peacefully in the gentle embrace of the deep ocean. Your breath slow and deep like the pulsing of the bioluminescent jellyfish around you. Your body completely relaxed. Your mind clear and receptive, ready to discover the profound mysteries of Earth's greatest depths in our next section. If you're still awake and listening, consider which aspect of the jellyfish's eternal flow speaks most deeply to you, their surrender to oceanic currents, their ancient evolutionary persistence, their cyclical transformations, or perhaps their ability to create light in darkness. In our next section, we'll descend to the most mysterious realm of all, the abyssal trenches where life exists under conditions that once seemed impossible, teaching us about adaptation at the very edges of biological possibility. The gentle current continues to carry us ever deeper into the ocean's embrace, leading behind the ethereal jellyfish with their bioluminescent pulses. As we descend further into the abyss, the last remnants of surface light gradually fade away, replaced by a darkness more complete than anything experienced on land, a darkness unbroken by moon or stars, a darkness so profound it feels almost like a tangible presence surrounding us. We have entered the deep ocean, Earth's largest habitable environment and perhaps its most mysterious frontier, where life exists under conditions that once seemed impossible to support even the simplest organisms. As our eyes adjust to this new reality, we begin to appreciate the sheer vastness of this dark realm. Over 70% of our planet's ocean exists in perpetual darkness, untouched by sunlight. The deep ocean represents the planet's largest habitat by volume, yet we have explored less than 5% of it, meaning we know less about these depths than we do about the surface of Mars. This is truly Earth's final frontier, a world of mystery existing beneath the waves, beneath even our imagination. In this realm without light, the basic foundation of most ecosystems, photosynthesis, becomes impossible. Without plants or algae to capture sunlight and transform it into usable energy, life must follow different rules entirely. The deep ocean food web depends primarily on what scientists call marine snow, a constant, gentle rain of organic matter from the productive waters above. Dead plankton, discarded mucus, fecal pellets, and other biological debris drift slowly downward, providing a sparse but consistent food source for deep-dwelling organisms. This marine snow descends at an extraordinarily slow pace, sometimes taking weeks to fall just a few hundred meters. As it sinks, it is continuously processed and reprocessed by different organisms, each extracting whatever nutritional value remains. By the time these particles reach the deepest ocean, they have been transformed into an almost unrecognizable form, yet still contain enough energy to sustain the remarkable communities that have evolved to harvest this gentle rain from above. The physical conditions in this environment test the very limits of life's adaptability. Pressure increases by 1 atmosphere for every 10 meters of depth, meaning that in the deepest ocean trenches, organisms must withstand pressures exceeding 1,000 times what we experience at sea level, equivalent to balancing the weight of 50 jumbo jets on your body. Temperatures hover just above freezing, with remarkable consistency regardless of what season or weather patterns might be affecting the surface thousands of meters above. Oxygen levels are often dramatically lower than in surface waters, requiring specialized respiratory adaptations. Nutrients that are abundant in coastal waters become incredibly scarce. And perhaps most significantly, the darkness is absolute, a visual environment devoid of the primary sense that most surface animals rely upon to find food, avoid predators, and navigate their world. Yet despite these seemingly hostile conditions, life not only exists in the deep ocean but thrives in astonishing diversity. Over millions of years of evolution, deep-sea creatures have developed extraordinary adaptations to these extreme conditions, creating some of the most remarkable and otherworldly organisms on our planet. As we drift through this midnight realm, these adapted beings begin to emerge from the darkness, revealing a world not of scarcity and limitation, but of evolutionary innovation and specialization. As you continue to relax more deeply, imagine yourself fully embraced by this profound darkness. Feel any remaining visual stimulation gently fading away. Your sense of hearing becoming more acute as your eyes rest in the perfect absence of light. Your body fully supported by the dense water of the deep ocean. Temperature and pressure consistent around you, creating a womb-like environment of perfect stability. There's a profound peace in this sensory reduction, a reminder that sometimes the absence of stimulation can create the deepest state of rest. As our journey continues through the darkness, we begin to notice that the deep is not entirely without light. Small flashes and glimmers appear in the distance. Ghostly blue-green illuminations that appear and disappear like underwater fireflies. Unlike the sunlight that penetrates surface waters from above, these lights are generated by the organisms themselves, living beacons in a world otherwise consumed by darkness. Bioluminescence, the ability to produce light through chemical reactions within living cells, reaches its most spectacular development here in the deep. While this phenomenon exists in surface waters, in the deep ocean it becomes not just common but essential, with some studies suggesting that over 90% of deep-sea creatures possess this ability in some form. In the absence of external light, these organisms have evolved to create their own, using living light for hunting, defense, communication, and attraction. One of the most extraordinary practitioners of this biological light show now appears before us, the anglerfish, with its distinctive bioluminescent lure dangling from a modified dorsal fin above its mouth. This living lantern doesn't simply produce light, it hosts colonies of symbiotic bacteria that generate the glow, a perfect partnership developed over evolutionary time. The light attracts curious prey close to the anglerfish's enormous mouth, lined with needle-like teeth that curve inward, ensuring that whatever enters has little chance of escape. The female anglerfish, which can grow to about the size of a football, presents a stark contrast to the male, a tiny creature sometimes less than an inch long. When a male finds a female, he bites into her body and literally fuses with her, eventually losing his eyes, fins, and most internal organs until he becomes little more than a parasitic attachment providing sperm when needed. This extreme sexual dimorphism represents one solution to the challenge of finding mates in an environment where encounters between members of the same species might be exceedingly rare. Other bioluminescent hunters employ different strategies. The dragonfish uses light-producing organs called photophores under its eyes to illuminate potential prey without alerting them to its presence. It accomplishes this remarkable feat by producing red light, a wavelength that most deep-sea creatures cannot see, effectively creating a spotlight visible only to the dragonfish itself. This is the deep-sea equivalent of night vision goggles, allowing the predator to see without being seen. The stoplight loosejaw is perhaps the most sophisticated arrangement of all. It can switch between blue and red bioluminescence, using different wavelengths for different hunting situations. Its name comes from the strange gap in its jaw, which allows it to swing its mouth open to enormous proportions in an instant, creating a sudden vacuum that sucks in nearby prey before they can react to danger. Not all bioluminescence serves predatory purposes. Many deep-sea organisms use light displays to find mates in the darkness. Others create brilliant light shows when disturbed, a strategy that might confuse predators or attract larger predators to threaten whatever is attacking them. Some use bioluminescence as counter-illumination, producing light on their undersides that matches the faint glow from above, effectively erasing their silhouettes when seen from below. As we drift peacefully among these living lights, consider how the deep-sea creatures have responded to their challenging environment not by fighting against the darkness, but by bringing their own light into it. Instead of lamenting the absence of sun and stars, they evolved the capacity to generate illumination that serves their specific needs precisely. There's profound wisdom in this approach, a reminder that often the most effective response to environmental challenges isn't resistance but creative adaptation. As we continue our descent, we enter the realm where some of the ocean's most enigmatic creatures dwell, the deep-sea cephalopods, including the legendary giant squid and its even larger cousin, the colossal squid. These remarkable mollusks represent some of the most elusive and least understood large animals on our planet, living their lives in depths rarely glimpsed by human eyes. The giant squid, Architeuthis dux, has captured human imagination for centuries, appearing in maritime legends as the fearsome kraken and washing ashore occasionally as decomposing mysteries that fuel tales of sea monsters. Despite potentially reaching lengths of up to 13 meters, 43 feet, including their tentacles, these creatures remained largely mythical until very recently. The first photographs of a living giant squid in its natural habitat were not captured until 2004, and the first video footage came only in 2012, a stark reminder of how much remains unknown in the deep ocean. Even less understood is the colossal squid, Mesonicoteuthis hamiltoni, which may exceed the giant squid in mass if not length. With the largest eyes of any known animal, up to 27 centimeters, 10.6 inches in diameter, and hooks on its tentacles that can rotate 360 degrees, this Antarctic deep-sea dweller represents the culmination of cephalopod evolution. Yet despite its enormous size, only a handful of intact specimens have ever been recovered, all from the stomachs of sperm whales or accidentally caught on deep-sea fishing lines. These giant cephalopods likely live solitary lives in the midnight zone, hunting fish and other squid while avoiding their primary predator, the sperm whale, which can dive to exceptional depths and has evolved specifically to hunt these giants of the abyss. The battles between these titans must be spectacular. Sperm whales frequently bear scars from the suckers and hooks of giant squid, testament to underwater confrontations that human eyes have never witnessed. Less enormous but equally fascinating are the deep-sea octopuses that have adapted to abyssal conditions. Some, like the Dumbo octopus, have evolved fins that resemble ears, allowing them to fly through the water column with minimal energy expenditure. Others have developed extraordinarily long arms relative to their body size, enabling them to search a larger area of the seafloor for food without moving their bodies. The recently discovered Casper octopus, named for its ghostly white appearance, lays its eggs on manganese nodules in the deep sea, then guards them for years in the cold, slow-developing environment of the abyss. Perhaps most remarkable of all is the vampire squid, neither a true squid nor an octopus, but the sole surviving member of a separate order of cephalopods. This living fossil has remained largely unchanged for millions of years, perfecting its adaptation to the oxygen minimum zone where few predators can follow. Instead of jetting away when threatened, it wraps its webbed arms around its head and becomes a spiny, inedible ball. Rather than hunting actively, it deploys a long filament that collects marine snow, then transfers these particles to its mouth, a low-energy lifestyle perfectly suited to its low-oxygen habitat. As we observe these mysterious cephalopods in their natural environment, notice their deliberate, energy-conserving movements. The way they drift more often than swim actively. The long periods of apparent stillness interrupted by brief bursts of motion. In the deep sea, where food energy is scarce, conservation becomes the primary survival strategy, a reminder that sometimes doing less, and doing it more efficiently, represents the pinnacle of evolutionary sophistication. As we approach the deepest regions of the ocean, we encounter perhaps the most remarkable adaptations of all, the physiological and biochemical modifications that allow organisms to survive under crushing pressure. At depths below 6,000 meters, pressures exceed 600 atmospheres. Imagining trying to support the weight of 600 atmospheres of air above you, or withstanding the force of 600 times the pressure we experience at sea level. Under such extreme conditions, many biological structures and processes that function perfectly in surface organisms would simply collapse. Proteins would denature, cell membranes would compress to the point of failure, gaseous spaces would be crushed. Yet dozens of species of fish, crustaceans, worms, sea cucumbers, and microorganisms thrive in these extreme conditions, having evolved remarkable adaptations over millions of years. The deep-sea fish appearing before us now bears little resemblance to its surface-dwelling relatives. Its body appears almost gelatinous, with minimal skeletal structure and significantly reduced muscle mass. The pressure-resistant adaptations include the elimination of gas-filled spaces. Most deep-sea fish have lost their swim bladders, which would be crushed under extreme pressure. Their cells contain high concentrations of trimethylamine oxide, TMAO, a chemical that prevents proteins from being denatured by pressure. Their body tissues have high concentrations of unsaturated fatty acids, which remain fluid under pressure and cold temperatures when saturated fats would become rigid. Their enzymes have evolved unique shapes that maintain functionality under pressure, often featuring fewer internal cavities that might collapse when compressed. Even their DNA and RNA show modifications that maintain proper functioning in the abyss. Some deep-sea creatures show even more dramatic adaptations. The hadal snailfish, living at depths exceeding 8,000 meters in ocean trenches, has evolved a skull that's incompletely fused, more like a flexible colander than a rigid box. This unusual adaptation may allow the skull to flex slightly under pressure rather than resisting it completely. Its cellular membranes contain unique piezolites, molecules that help maintain proper membrane fluidity even under extreme pressure. Perhaps most remarkable are the creatures that live near hydrothermal vents, volcanic fissures that release superheated water rich in minerals and chemicals toxic to most life forms. Here, in an environment combining crushing pressure with temperatures that can exceed 350 degrees Celsius (662 degrees Fahrenheit), we find organisms that have not just adapted to extreme conditions but have evolved to require them. The Pompeii worm, for example, can withstand temperature differences of nearly 80 degrees Celsius (176 degrees Fahrenheit) across the length of its body, with its tail near scalding vent water while its head remains in much cooler surroundings. These extraordinary adaptations represent life's remarkable capacity to colonize even the most extreme environments on our planet. Rather than fighting against the conditions of the deep sea, these organisms have embraced them, evolving biochemical and physiological solutions that transform seeming limitations into opportunities for specialized ecological niches with reduced competition. As you continue to relax more deeply, consider the profound wisdom in this approach to life's challenges. Not resisting what cannot be changed, but adapting to work within it. Not attempting to maintain surface-adapted structures where they no longer serve, but releasing them to evolve more suitable alternatives. Finding not just tolerance of extreme conditions, but ways to thrive within them. There's a philosophical depth to these adaptations that transcends their biological function, a reminder of the transformative potential of acceptance and adaptation. As our exploration of the deep ocean begins to draw to a close, I invite you to immerse yourself fully in the experience of floating in these mysterious depths. Imagine yourself drifting slowly through the midnight zone, thousands of meters below the surface. The water around you is perfectly still, undisturbed by the storms and waves that may be raging far above. The temperature is consistently cool against your skin, neither warm nor uncomfortably cold. The pressure envelopes you like a gentle, even embrace, holding you in perfect suspension. The darkness is complete, yet somehow comforting rather than threatening. An absence of visual stimulation that allows your other senses to expand into the space created. The occasional bioluminescent organism drifts past, its living light appearing as a soft, blue-green glow that illuminates nothing but itself, a self-contained universe of gentle radiance in the surrounding void. Feel the extraordinary peace of this environment. The almost complete absence of sound except for the gentle rhythm of your own heartbeat. No currents to push or pull your body. No variations in temperature or pressure to create distinction between one moment and the next. Just perfect, embryonic stability, perhaps the closest we can come to experiencing the state before birth or the infinite rest after life. In this profound stillness, notice how your thoughts begin to slow and quiet. The constant mental chatter of surface existence gradually fading into a deeper, more primal awareness. Your breathing becoming so slow and deep that each inhale and exhale feels like a gentle tide flowing through your body. Your heartbeat steady and calm, unhurried by stress or exertion. The deep ocean represents the largest habitat on our planet, yet exists in a state of perpetual tranquility far removed from the frantic energy of surface environments. The creatures that have evolved here move with deliberate slowness, conserving precious energy in an ecosystem where food appears rarely and must be utilized with maximum efficiency. Nothing here is rushed. Nothing here is wasted. Each movement, each life process has been refined over millions of years to achieve its purpose with minimal expenditure. As you continue to float in this perfect stillness, feel your body surrendering to the support of the surrounding water. Any remaining tension in your muscles dissolving into the embracing depths. Your mind growing quieter with each passing moment. Your awareness expanding beyond the boundaries of your body to encompass the vast, silent space around you. There's a profound peace in this state of suspended being, neither striving nor resisting, just existing within the perfect equilibrium of the deep. The occasional bioluminescent spark drifts past like a thought moving through consciousness, appearing, briefly illuminating the darkness, then fading back into the void. Each of these living lights represents a solution to the challenges of deep-sea existence, a creative adaptation to conditions that might seem impossible to overcome. Together, they remind us of life's remarkable resilience, its capacity to transform limitation into opportunity through patient evolution. As we prepare to transition to our next exploration, the absolute tranquility of the ocean's deepest trenches, carry with you this sense of profound peace and stability. The deep ocean offers a unique combination of conditions found nowhere else on Earth: perfect stillness, consistent temperature, eternal darkness, and encompassing pressure. In our quest for rest and relaxation, perhaps these are the very elements our bodies and minds most deeply crave. Feel yourself continuing to float in the gentle embrace of the deep ocean. Your breath so slow and deep it barely disturbs the water around you. Your body completely relaxed, suspended in perfect equilibrium. Your mind clear and receptive, yet increasingly drawn toward the edges of sleep as we prepare to visit the absolute depths of Earth's ultimate frontier. If you're still awake and listening, consider which quality of the deep ocean resonates most profoundly with your own need for rest, its unchanging stability, its profound silence, its gentle darkness, or perhaps its all-encompassing supportive pressure. In our next section, we'll descend to the very bottom of the ocean's deepest trenches, where life exists at the absolute edge of biological possibility, teaching us final lessons about adaptation, persistence, and finding peace in the most extreme environments imaginable. Our journey continues as we descend to the very limits of Earth's oceans, the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek realm of the underworld. These extreme depths, primarily composed of deep ocean trenches, represent the most isolated and least explored environment on our planet. Below 6,000 meters, the ocean becomes a realm of absolute stillness, unchanging darkness, and extraordinary pressure, a place where time itself seems to slow, where life exists at the very edge of biological possibility, and where we might find the deepest peace our planet has to offer. The ocean floor is not a uniform plain but rather a varied landscape of seamounts, ridges, plains, and most dramatically, deep trenches. These massive chasms form where tectonic plates meet, with one plate sliding beneath another, creating canyons that plunge miles below the surrounding seafloor. The deepest of these, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, reaches approximately 10,935 meters, 35,876 feet, below sea level, a depth so extreme that if Mount Everest were placed at the bottom, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. These trenches represent Earth's final frontier, a realm more difficult to explore than the Moon and less visited than Mars. Only 3 crew expeditions have ever reached the bottom of the Challenger Deep: the 1960 descent by Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh in the Bathurst Cave Trieste, James Cameron's 2012 solo dive in the Deep-Sea Challenger, and multiple dives by the DSV Limiting Factor beginning in 2019. Between these rare human visits, robotic vehicles occasionally illuminate small patches of the trench floor, but vast regions remain completely unexplored, their secrets still hidden in darkness. The conditions in these deepest trenches test the very limits of life's adaptability. Pressures exceed 1,100 atmospheres, equivalent to balancing approximately 11,000 kilograms on every square centimeter of your body. Temperatures hover just above freezing, maintained with remarkable consistency regardless of surface conditions. Oxygen becomes scarce in these depths, and the only food arrives as the sparse remains of marine snow, organic particles that have been repeatedly processed by organisms during their slow descent from the surface. Yet even here, in what might seem like one of the most hostile environments on Earth, life persists. Specialized microorganisms, unusual shrimp-like amphipods, sea cucumbers, and remarkably, several species of fish have been found living at these extreme depths. Most famous among these hadal creatures is the Mariana snailfish, Pseudoliparus swirii, which holds the record for the deepest living fish ever observed, spotted at a depth of 8,178 meters, 26,831 feet, in the Mariana Trench. These deepest dwelling creatures represent a triumph of evolutionary adaptation, life finding a way to survive and even thrive under conditions that would crush and kill organisms from shallower waters. Their existence reminds us of life's remarkable tenacity, its ability to colonize even the most extreme environments through patient adaptation over evolutionary time. As we visualize ourselves floating in these ultimate depths, imagine the extraordinary stillness surrounding you. The complete absence of currents or turbulence. The water so calm that if you were to place a feather before you, it might remain motionless for hours. Here, far below the influence of weather systems, beyond the reach of surface currents, exists perhaps the most unchanging environment on our planet, a realm where physical conditions have remained virtually identical for millions of years. In this perfect stillness, feel your body becoming increasingly heavy and relaxed. Your breathing slowing to match the unhurried metabolism of hadal creatures. Your mind growing quieter as visual stimulation fades to absolute darkness. There is perhaps no environment on Earth better suited to induce the deepest state of relaxation than these timeless abyssal trenches. In the crushing pressure and near-freezing temperatures of the hadal zone, biological processes unfold at an extraordinarily unhurried pace. The creatures that have adapted to these extreme depths have evolved what biologists call a dramatically reduced metabolic rate. They live in slow motion compared to their shallow water relatives. This metabolic slowdown represents a perfect adaptation to an environment where food is exceedingly scarce. By reducing their energy requirements, hadal organisms can survive on the minimal nutrition that drifts down from above. Some deep-sea creatures can exist for months or even years between meals, their bodies carefully conserving every calorie acquired during rare feeding opportunities. The snailfish and other creatures of the deep trenches move with deliberate slowness, expending energy only when absolutely necessary. Their swimming appears almost dreamlike in its languid quality, gentle undulations of the body that propel them through the water with minimal exertion. When not actively seeking food, they often remain nearly motionless, hovering slightly above the seafloor in a state approaching suspended animation. Even cellular processes operate at reduced speed in these depths. Growth occurs at rates that would seem impossibly slow to surface dwellers. A deep-sea octopus observed by researchers was found to breed its eggs for an astonishing 4.5 years, the longest egg breeding period ever recorded for any animal. In the cold, high-pressure environment of the deep, the embryos developed at an extraordinarily gradual pace, with the mother maintaining her protective position without feeding for the entire multi-year period. This dramatic slowing of biological time applies not just to movement and growth but to aging itself. Many deep-sea organisms live extraordinarily long lives compared to related species in shallower waters. The Greenland shark, which inhabits deep Arctic waters, though not quite the hadal zone, may live for 400 years or more, making it the longest-lived vertebrate known to science. Some deep-sea corals are estimated to be over 4,000 years old, living organisms that were already ancient when the Egyptian pyramids were being built. While we don't yet know the lifespan of many hadal creatures, there's reason to believe that life in these depths unfolds on an even longer timescale, with creatures potentially living centuries in the unchanging conditions of the trenches. This dramatic extension of biological time creates a different relationship with existence itself, a life of extraordinary patience, where change occurs so gradually it might be imperceptible to human observation. As you continue to relax more deeply, allow your own internal sense of time to shift. Feel the rhythm of your breathing slowing, your heartbeat becoming more measured, your thoughts drifting with greater space between them. There's a profound peace in this temporal deceleration, a reminder that much of our daily stress comes from a rushed relationship with time, from the feeling that there isn't enough of it. In the deepest ocean, time stretches toward infinity, an invitation to release our hurried consciousness into something more expansive and unhurried. The darkness of the hadal zone represents perhaps the most complete absence of light on our planet. No sunlight has ever penetrated these depths. No moon or stars illuminate this realm. Even bioluminescence becomes increasingly rare in the deepest trenches, where energy conservation is paramount and visual communication holds limited value. This is darkness in its purest form, not just the absence of light but the fullness of uninterrupted darkness. In human experience, we rarely encounter true darkness. Even at night, artificial light illuminates our cities. In nature, starlight and moonlight provide faint illumination. Our eyes adapt to find the smallest traces of light in what we call dark environments. But in the Hadal Zone, darkness is absolute, a complete visual void that has remained unbroken for millions of years except for the brief intrusions of human explorers. This perfect darkness creates a unique sensory environment, one where visual processing, which consumes approximately 30% of the brain's energy in surface-dwelling organisms, becomes unnecessary. The brain can reallocate this energy to other functions or simply reduce its overall activity, entering a state of deeper rest than is possible in environments with even minimal light stimulation. Many Hadal creatures have lost their eyes entirely through evolutionary processes, with the genes for visual organs becoming inactive over countless generations. Others retain only vestigial eye structures with limited or no functionality. This evolutionary abandonment of vision represents a profound form of adaptation, not fighting against the darkness but accepting it completely, releasing what has become unnecessary, and redirecting precious energy towards senses that serve better in this environment. As you continue to float in our visualization of these ultimate depths, imagine yourself embracing this complete darkness. Not as something to fear or resist, but as a perfect absence that allows for the deepest relaxation. Feel your visual cortex quieting. The constant processing of light, shape, and movement gradually subsiding. Your consciousness shifting toward other sensory channels, the gentle pressure against your skin, the soft sound of your own breathing, the faint rhythm of your heartbeat. There's a profound restfulness in this sensory reduction, a reminder that much of our mental fatigue comes from constant visual processing and stimulation. In the perfect darkness of the deep, the mind finds a different kind of awareness, less analytical, less object-focused, more diffuse and integral. This state bears similarities to deep meditation, where practitioners often close their eyes to facilitate the quieting of the active, categorizing mind. In cultures throughout history, darkness has been associated with deep wisdom and spiritual insight. Cave meditation has been practiced for thousands of years across various traditions, with darkness retreats still offered today as paths to profound inner awareness. The Hadal Zone offers this transformative darkness in its most complete form, an environment where external visual reality fades completely, allowing inner awareness to expand into the space created by its absence. As we float in the silent darkness of Earth's deepest trenches, we might reflect on the philosophical significance of these extraordinary environments and the life that has evolved to inhabit them. The Hadal Zone offers profound metaphors for human experience, lessons about adaptation, acceptance, and finding peace at the very edges of possibility. The creatures of the deep trenches have not conquered their extreme environment through resistance or domination. They have survived by embracing it completely, by evolving in harmony with conditions that would destroy organisms that fought against them. Their bodies contain higher concentrations of osmolytes that prevent protein deformation under pressure. Their cell membranes maintain flexibility through higher proportions of unsaturated fatty acids. Their enzymes function optimally under pressures that would crush surface proteins. This represents a profound wisdom about relating to challenging circumstances, not through futile resistance to what cannot be changed, but through deep adaptation that transforms seeming limitations into unique opportunities. The Hadal creatures don't survive despite the extreme pressure. In many ways, they survive because of it, having evolved biochemistry that requires these conditions and protects them from competition from shallow water species. There's a beautiful parallel here to the human journey through difficult circumstances. How conditions that might initially seem impossible to endure can, through through gradual adaptation and acceptance, become the very foundations for a unique kind of flourishing. The trenches remind us that sometimes what appears most hostile might, with the right relationship, become a specialized niche where unexpected gifts emerge. The extreme slowness of trench life also offers wisdom about our relationship with time and productivity. In human society, particularly modern technological culture, speed is often valorized: faster communication, quicker results, constant activity. Yet the Hadal creatures reveal a different relationship with existence, one where conservation rather than expenditure becomes the organizing principle, where patience replaces urgency, where being supersedes doing. Their extraordinary metabolic slowdown isn't a deficiency but a sophisticated adaptation, a perfect adjustment to an environment where energy is precious and must be preserved rather than continuously expended. This offers a counterpoint to human exhaustion and burnout, a reminder that constant activity isn't always the most effective approach, that sometimes slowing down isn't just pleasant but essential for sustainability. Perhaps most profound is the trench ecosystem's lesson about interdependence. Despite the extreme isolation of individual trenches, which are separated from each other by vast distances of shallower seafloor, life in these environments depends entirely on the broader ocean ecosystem. The marine snow that sustains trench organisms originates in productive surface waters thousands of meters above, creating an unbroken chain of relationship between the shallowest and deepest ocean realms. No part of Earth's biosphere exists in true isolation, even environments as seemingly remote as Hadal trenches. This echoes wisdom traditions that speak of the interconnectedness of all life, how what appears most separate may still be profoundly linked through invisible relationships and dependencies that transcend apparent boundaries and distances. As our exploration of Earth's ultimate depths draws to a close, I invite you to immerse yourself fully in a final visualization of floating in the perfect stillness of the Hadal zone. Imagine yourself suspended in the absolute darkness thousands of meters below the ocean surface. The water around you completely motionless, undisturbed even by your presence. The temperature cool but not uncomfortable against your skin. The pressure enveloping you like a gentle, even embrace that supports your body from all directions simultaneously. In this perfect stability, feel any remaining tension in your muscles dissolving completely. Your body becoming increasingly heavy and relaxed. Your breathing slowing to an extremely gradual rhythm. Your heartbeat calm and unhurried. Your mind growing quieter with each passing moment as thoughts become more widely spaced, appearing briefly in consciousness before fading back into the surrounding stillness. The darkness is absolute, requiring no effort to keep eyes closed, inviting you to release visual processing entirely. The silence is profound, broken only by the soft sound of your own breathing and the gentle rhythm of your pulse. The complete absence of external stimulation creates a perfect environment for your nervous system to enter its deepest state of rest and recovery. Time itself seems to stretch and expand in this environment, with each moment extending into a spacious present that requires no hurrying, no planning, no anticipation of what comes next. Just as the creatures of the trenches have adapted to an existence of extraordinary patience, allow yourself to release any remaining sense of rush time. Any feeling that you should be somewhere else or doing something more. Any internal pressure to maintain alertness or awareness. The Hadal zone represents perhaps the perfect environment for absolute rest, combining complete darkness, perfect stillness, consistent temperature, supportive pressure, and the absence of disturbance. These are precisely the conditions our nervous systems evolved to associate with the deepest states of relaxation and recovery. As you continue to float in this visualization, feel yourself approaching the edges of consciousness itself. The boundaries between awake and asleep becoming increasingly diffuse and permeable. There is no effort required here, no need to maintain attention or focus. You can allow yourself to drift in and out of awareness, to hover at the threshold of sleep without concern for staying alert or continuing to listen actively. The journey now is entirely yours, a personal exploration of the borderlands between conscious relaxation and the depths of sleep that await beyond. As we prepare to transition to our final section, a gentle return that will guide you into the deepest sleep, carry with you the profound peace of the ocean trenches. The Hadal Zone offers perfect metaphors for the state preceding sleep, the release of unnecessary processing, the slowing of biological rhythms, the surrender to supporting pressure, the embrace of complete darkness, and the extension of time into a spacious present that requires no hurried awareness. Feel yourself continuing to float in the perfect stillness of Earth's deepest waters. Your breath so slow and gentle it barely creates movement. Your body completely supported from all directions. Your mind hovering at the edges of consciousness, ready to drift into the even deeper waters of sleep that await in our final journey together. If some small part of you is still awake and listening, know that you've reached the perfect threshold state, the ideal preparation for the profound sleep that awaits. In our final section, we'll complete our oceanic journey with the gentlest transition into the embracing depths of restful sleep. As our ocean exploration reaches its conclusion, we begin the gentle ascent from the abyssal depths toward the threshold of dreams. Our journey through the liquid realms of Earth has taken us from sunlit surface waters to the darkest trenches, from playful dolphins to ancient creatures of the deep. Now, as we prepare to transition from waking consciousness to the floating world of sleep, let us gather the wisdom we've encountered along the way, allowing the ocean's timeless rhythms to guide us into the most peaceful rest. Our journey began in the sunlit shallows, where dolphins moved with joyful grace through the clear blue waters. We witnessed their playful intelligence, their strong social bonds, and their remarkable ability to rest one hemisphere of their brain while keeping the other alert, a reminder that there are many paths to restoration, many ways to find balance between vigilance and surrender. From the dolphins, we followed ancient sea turtles on their remarkable migrations across entire ocean basins. These ancient mariners, whose lineage stretches back over 100 million years, taught us about patience and persistence, about finding our way across vast distances guided by inner knowing, about returning home after long journeys through the remembered pathways of our being. Their unhurried pace and century-spanning lifespans offered a different relationship with time, a reminder that some journeys unfold across decades rather than moments. Descending further, we explored the vibrant coral reefs, living structures built by billions of tiny organisms working in patient collaboration over thousands of years. We witnessed their extraordinary diversity, their intricate symbiotic relationships, and their transformation from day to night. The reef reminded us that some of Earth's greatest wonders emerge not from individual effort but from collective creation, with each small contribution accumulating into structures of breathtaking beauty and complexity. Our journey continued into open waters where jellyfish pulse with hypnotic rhythm. Their bodies, composed of 95% water, demonstrated the art of flowing with rather than against the currents of life. Their 650 million year presence on Earth reminded us of the wisdom of simplicity, how evolutionary success isn't measured by complexity but by perfect adaptation to the conditions of existence. Their bioluminescent relatives illuminated the darker waters, creating light from within rather than depending on external sources, a living metaphor for finding illumination when external guidance dims. As we ventured into the deepest regions, we encountered creatures that have evolved to thrive under conditions that once seemed impossible to support life. The crushing pressure, the perfect darkness, the near-freezing temperatures of the ocean trenches revealed life's extraordinary adaptability, how challenges that might initially appear overwhelming can, through gradual adjustment and acceptance, become the very foundation for a unique kind of flourishing. Throughout our ocean journey, certain themes emerged again and again. the wisdom of flowing rather than fighting against forces larger than ourselves. The patience of evolutionary time, where adaptations unfold across millions of years. The interconnection between all ocean zones, from surface to deepest trench. The balance between individual journey and collective existence. And perhaps most importantly, the profound peace that comes from surrendering to supportive environments where we can be fully held and embraced. As you continue to relax more deeply, allow these ocean teachings to settle gently into your consciousness. Not as concepts to analyze, but as feelings to absorb. The dolphin's playful presence. The turtle's patient journey. The reef's collaborative beauty. The jellyfish's flowing surrender. The deep creature's perfect adaptation. Each offering a different quality of being that might support your transition into restful sleep. The ocean itself offers the perfect metaphor for the consciousness shift we call sleep, the movement from the active, sunlit surface awareness of waking life to the deeper, quieter realms of subconsciousness, where dreams flow like currents and thoughts drift like marine snow through the darkness. Just as the ocean doesn't fight this natural layering but allows each depth to exist in its perfect relation to the whole, we too can release resistance to the natural cycle that draws us from waking to sleeping and back again. Feel yourself becoming increasingly heavy and relaxed as you absorb these oceanic lessons. Your breathing slowing to match the unhurried rhythm of deep ocean currents. Your thoughts becoming less defined, more fluid, like shapes glimpsed through rippling water. Your body surrendering completely to the surface supporting it, just as deep creatures surrender to the perfect pressure embracing them from all directions. If you've journeyed with me through all these oceanic realms, from the dancing dolphins to the absolute stillness of the trenches, you've shown remarkable patience and presence, qualities the ocean itself would recognize and honor. Perhaps you've drifted in and out of conscious listening, allowing parts of the journey to flow directly into your deeper awareness without the interruption of analytical thought. This too mirrors the ocean's layers, where awareness exists in different forms at different depths. Should you find yourself still awake enough to remember this invitation when our journey concludes, I welcome you to share the word Snovodenia in the comments below. This Ukrainian word for dreaming will be recognized as a quiet signal from those who have journeyed all the way to the ocean floor and back, a small community of deep listeners who have experienced the full cycle of our underwater exploration. But whether you share this word or not, know that you've been part of something rare in our hurried world, a slowing down, a diving deep, an exploration not just of ocean realms but of consciousness itself as it transitions from the active waves of beta awareness to the floating alpha state, and perhaps now toward the deeper theta rhythms that precede sleep. Like the ancient mariners who navigated by stars, you've allowed yourself to be guided by a voice through unseen realms. Like the deep ocean creatures who sense their world through means beyond vision, you've experienced this journey through channels deeper than ordinary awareness. And like the ocean itself, you've demonstrated the wisdom of surrender, allowing yourself to be carried by currents of words and images toward the shores of sleep. Know that this journey doesn't truly end when my voice fades. The ocean rhythms we've explored together can continue to carry you deeper into restful states. The creatures we've encountered may appear again in different forms in your dreams. And the wisdom we've gathered remains available to you, not just tonight but whenever you wish to return to these liquid realms of relaxation and renewal. For this final visualization, imagine yourself floating gently at the perfect depth where the ocean feels most embracing to your particular being. For some, this might be near the surface, where sunlight creates dapple patterns across your body and the sound of distant waves creates a gentle acoustic backdrop. For others, it might be the twilight zone, where bioluminescent creatures create a living constellation around your floating form. And for some, it might be the deepest trenches, where perfect darkness and stillness create the ultimate environment for surrender. Wherever you find yourself most naturally drawn, allow your body to be completely supported by the surrounding water. No effort required to stay afloat. No movement needed to maintain position. Just perfect suspension in an element that holds you entirely, wrapping around every contour of your form with gentle, even pressure. Feel the boundary between your body and the surrounding water becoming increasingly diffuse. With each exhalation, imagine your physical form becoming slightly more fluid, slightly more permeable. Your molecules mingling with the water molecules around you. The distinction between self and surroundings gradually dissolving into a more unified field of awareness. The ocean contains almost the exact same proportion of salt as your own bodily fluids, a living memory of our evolutionary origins in ancient seas. Allow this deep biological connection to enhance your sense of belonging in this liquid environment, of returning to something primordial and nurturing that has been part of your cellular memory since before birth. As your sense of separate physical form continues to soften, allow your consciousness to expand outward, becoming as vast as the ocean itself. No longer limited to the boundaries of individual awareness, but extending to embrace the entire liquid realm from surface to deepest depth. In this expanded state, you might sense the different ocean layers simultaneously, the sunlit activities of surface creatures, the patient migrations of mid-water beings, and the slow, dreamlike existence of deep trench dwellers. Your thoughts, like bubbles rising from the depths, become increasingly subtle and widely spaced, appearing briefly at the surface of awareness before dissolving back into the vast blue from which they arose. Each thought less compelling, less requiring of attention, simply a momentary pattern in the continuous flow of consciousness. Your emotions become like ocean currents, movements of energy that flow through the greater field without defining or limiting it. You can sense their passage without being carried away by their momentum. Observing them with the same gentle detachment you might observe the changing colors of water at different depths. Time itself begins to transform, stretching into the geological patience of the ocean, where processes unfold across spans too vast for ordinary human perception, where adaptations develop over millions of years, where pressure and temperature have remained consistent through the rise and fall of entire civilizations on the distant surface. In this oceanic temporality, there is no hurry, no deadline, no moment more important than any other, just the eternal present continuously unfolding. As your consciousness continues to merge with the ocean's embracing presence, you might sense yourself approaching the edge of something vast and welcoming, the deeper waters of sleep that await just beyond the threshold of waking awareness. There is no need to strive toward this transition, no need to make it happen through effort or intention. Like the natural current that eventually carries floating objects to distant shores, the movement into sleep will occur in its own perfect timing. Now, as we complete our oceanic journey together, allow yourself to surrender completely to the natural rhythm that has guided Earth's waters since the planet's beginning. The eternal cycle of waves rising and falling, of tides flowing in and receding, of currents circling through the great ocean basins in patterns that have remained essentially unchanged for millions of years. With each breath, feel yourself sinking a little deeper into this rhythm. Your inhalation like the gentle rise of a wave. Your exhalation like its soft return to the greater body of water. Each breath cycle carrying you further from the shores of waking consciousness toward the open waters of sleep. The transition from wakefulness to sleep mirrors the ocean's depth gradient, a gradual shift from active, sun-warmed surface waters through increasingly still and quiet layers to the profound calm of the abyssal plain. This transition is not accomplished through effort but through progressive surrender, through allowing heavier elements to sink naturally while lighter awareness floats free. Let your body become increasingly heavy, each muscle group releasing any remaining tension, your arms and legs growing weighty and distant, your back melting into the supporting surface. Your face softening completely, jaw unclenching, forehead smooth. Even your eyelids becoming too heavy to lift, sealing your visual world in protective darkness that invites deeper states to emerge. While your body grows heavier, paradoxically, your mind begins to feel increasingly buoyant. Thoughts becoming lighter, less substantial, lifted away by gentle currents of pre-sleep consciousness. Your mental focus diffusing like a drop of ink in clear water, expanding outward into something more spacious and less defined. You might notice brief images appearing behind your closed eyelids. Fragments of scenes or symbolic forms that arise spontaneously as you approach the shores of sleep. These hypnagogic impressions are like the bioluminescent sparks of deep-sea creatures, momentary illuminations in the growing darkness, neither requiring interpretation nor needing to be held onto. Simply observe them with gentle curiosity as they appear and dissolve. The sound of my voice may begin to integrate with these emerging dream elements. Words occasionally transforming into different meanings or merging with visual impressions. This natural phenomenon signals your approach to sleep's threshold, where language and logic gradually release their hold, allowing the deeper wisdom of dream consciousness to emerge. If your mind momentarily becomes more alert or drifts back toward waking awareness, there's no need for concern or frustration. Like the natural rise and fall of tides, consciousness often ebbs and flows multiple times before fully surrendering to sleep's embrace. Simply notice this fluctuation without judgment and allow yourself to sink back toward the deeper waters calling you. Trust that sleep will arrive in its perfect timing, without need for effort or control on your part. Just as the ocean's creatures don't fight against the current but allow it to carry them, you too can release any sense of trying to make sleep happen. Your only task is to continue softening, surrendering, and allowing the natural wisdom of your body and mind to guide this transition. The ocean depths that await beyond the threshold of sleep offer the perfect environment for restoration and renewal. In this state, your brain will process emotions, consolidate memories, and clear accumulated metabolic waste products. Your body will repair cellular damage, rebalance hormonal systems, and restore energy reserves, all without any conscious direction or effort from you. As you hover at this exquisite threshold between waking and sleeping, remember that you're participating in a rhythm as ancient as life itself. The same cycle of activity and rest that has guided all Earth's creatures through countless days and nights. The pulse of consciousness that flows through not just human experience but through dolphins dreaming with half their brain, through sea turtles resting in coral caves, through the subtle awareness of jellyfish pulsing in midnight waters. Allow your breathing to become so soft and subtle it resembles the nearly imperceptible movement of deep ocean currents. Your heartbeat slowing to match the patient rhythm of evolutionary time. Your awareness expanding beyond personal boundaries to merge with the greater consciousness that connects all oceanic beings. And now, as my voice gradually recedes like a tide withdrawing from shore, carry with you the ocean's final gift, permission to surrender completely to sleep's embrace. Like a deep-sea creature perfectly adapted to its environment, you are designed to release regularly into this restful state, to sink beneath the surface of waking awareness into the healing waters of deep sleep. May the wisdom of ancient marine creatures guard your dreams tonight. May the patience of sea turtles infuse your rest with timeless peace. May the playfulness of dolphins bring joy to your sleeping consciousness. May the flowing surrender of jellyfish teach you perfect relaxation. And may the quiet stillness of the deepest trenches hold you in perfect suspension until morning light calls you gently back to shore. Drift now, like a feather on the surface of a calm sea. Float now, like a jellyfish pulsing softly through midnight waters. Sink now, like marine snow descending toward the welcoming embrace of the deep ocean floor. Sleep now, held in the perfect pressure of unconsciousness. Dream now, as the ocean has dreamed through eons of planetary existence. Rest now, in the absolute stillness at the heart of the watery world. Good night. Sleep well. And may your dreams flow as deep and endless as the ocean itself. Until we meet again on another journey through the wonders of our planet's remarkable creatures. Good night.